Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, that was a busy night of sports there Wednesday night. The Utes losing to Colorado, the Cougars crunching Arizona State, the Jazz losing in overtime at Oklahoma City, much better effort than that disaster in Portland, and the Utah Mammoth winning at home over Ottawa. Let's start with BYU, the Cougars. That was an absolute demolition of Arizona State, 104-76. They were some cross between the Harlem Globetrotters and the 80s Lakers with the Showtime thing. I mean, the ball was flying all over the place. They were flying all over the place. 104 points in a 40-minute game is fairly amazing. Here's the head coach, Kevin Young, after the win.
31 for Richie, just shot an incredibly high percentage. What do you think of his performance?
No, I thought he was, super locked in, and that's what we talked about coming into the game. Our approach in practice 2 days ago I didn't love, and I just challenged the group to kind of start the game and leave no doubt who was the more focused team. I thought he kind of set the stage there. But I thought, his scoring was, really the product of like our spacing and our unselfishness, and then obviously his individual greatness. It was a great night for him. I think is that a career high, Richie? 31. Awesome.
How nice of a luxury is it to have three guys that can outscore an opponent, just those three?
Look, and this is what I told the group, and when we're really trying to just continue to, I think we've formed an identity of how we want to play. Now I think the next step for this group is just forming having the right approach and mentality that gives you the edge to go out and be a team that leaves no doubt. Right? That's what I want. Like, we watched that game, there was no doubt how focused our guys were. And when those three guys in particular have that, with their talent and the unselfishness that they play the game with, sky's the limit for not only for that trio but for our team as well.
You had 10 blocks without Kaba in the lineup tonight. How happy were you with how your team troubled shots and kind of made things difficult for Arizona State on offense?
Yeah, look, that's what Beto does. He's now all of a sudden we have a lot of depth at the 5 spot. I think that reared its head tonight. He had 5 blocks in 17 minutes. He started cramping up. That's why we took him out. But, Mihailo has been playing better for us. He's got great length. AJ obviously is all-world athlete who also has, 7'1" wingspan. So I think that's – but bottom line is having hopefully 40 minutes of Kaba and Beto as our backline defense is, very comforting for sure.
What's the status on Kaba?
Yes, yeah. I don't know as far as when he'll be right back, but look, it was a small tweak of a little ankle. He probably could have played tonight, honestly, but we held him out. So.
When AJ and Richie and Rob are cooking like that, as a coaching staff, do you kind of talk to each other about let's not get in their way?
100%. Yeah, I learned that in the NBA. Guys are good. Just get space and get them the ball and shut up and move and sit down. And so, but at the same time, let me say that tongue in cheek. What I challenge those guys with, though, is like we're going to give them spacing, but then it's a lot of responsibility, though. Then they have to make the right decision. And that's really all I talk to not just them about, but really our team. And we play a pretty free-flowing style, I think. And there's certain responsibilities that come with that. And, those are three really mature guys that understand the game and, allows them to be great.
4th time this season, this group's hit 45% or higher from three. Just what does it do for this team when they're knocking down the 3-ball at a high clip like that?
Yeah, and tonight I thought we had an appropriate volume as well. To get up 31 threes and shoot 25 free throws, if you're not settling. They started out with the big lineup. I thought we were able to sort of open the game up with their bigger lineup out there. But look, AJ and Rob both, and Richie too, honestly. I know he's a great shooter, but, he's able to drive the ball to the basket too. So you got 3 guys like that are putting immense pressure on the rim. You got to decide what you want to do. And if you help, we got guys that can knock shots down. I thought Tyler came in and was part of that as well. So I do think, although I talked about the identity sort of being forged, I think that part of our identity is still a growth process in terms of, last year that's kind of all we were. Now it's starting to become more of who this team is as well.
What did you make of the play Rob made, tracking down that pass from AJ and then flipping back to Richie?
I thought it was awesome, just mainly because of the joy that it brought to the team. Like I show clips all the time with just joy. I love, we're lucky because we get to play an awesome sport for, our living or whatever you want to call it. And there's a lot of joy that comes with the game, so it's fun, man. It makes you feel like a little kid, and everyone out there, the fans are enjoying it. It was awesome.
Coach Hurley was in here, just kind of sarcastic, saying the only thing he felt like they accomplished was not allowing Chick-fil-A to be handed out to the fans. It was kind of just his point about how good you guys were defensively. Where do you think it kind of pivoted defensively?
Well, I thought just our attitude to come out, I thought was really good. I mean, we put a lot of time and effort into Mo Odom. I think he's a really dynamic guard. Now, I think it also speaks to how good Moo and AJ can be on the ball. They're different, right? Moo's like this burly, strong guy that's hard to get past, where AJ's got the length. So I think it gets a nice little 1-2 punch there. We brought Dominique in as well to give him another look. But, to hold him 7 points under his average, I thought was clutch. I'm not trying to be the whiny coach, but I think they scored literally 10 straight times in the second half when the game was already away. So, the stats are what they are. I wasn't happy with that, but for the bulk of the game with our main guys out there, I thought we were suffocating defensively.
I was just going to ask you, Kevin, about your progress of your defense, how you feel about it. First half was really good.
Yeah, look, that's a really good offensive team. There's a lot of, we do obviously a lot of scouting, but also a lot of statistical research with our analytics department. And look, they show up in a lot of top categories. They get to the line a ton. They're dynamic. Like I said, I think Odom's a good player. So to hold that team to 30 points in the first half, I thought really, set the stage for how the game was going to kind of play out.
Two more questions. You said the other day you hadn't even looked at Utah. I don't suppose you have yet, but what are your just opening thoughts of going up there again after losing there last year?
Yeah, still ticked that we lost that one. I know Trevin Nell's somewhere mad that he missed those free throws, and just want to go up there and get a win. Bottom line, it's like it's interesting for me. I obviously grew up in the church, but I never really grew up just like a super huge BYU fan. I always respected the program and what it stood for and things like that, but so I didn't grow up with the hate, right? And now that I've been here and you kind of experience it, like you just want to go up there and beat those guys, And so, a little personal flavor too, knowing Alex and Wes, their GM. It'll be, I've known those guys for a long time, so it'll be fun to compete against those guys. You tack on the rivalry component. It'll mean a lot for guys like Richie, for his last time to be able to try to get a win in their building. It'll be fun.
There's BYU basketball coach Kevin Young. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the Jazz and the Mammoth, their post-game wraps coming up. Stay with us. Good morning, DJ and PK. It's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Well, the Utah Jazz gave a better accounting of themselves. Sure, they got down by 20 in Oklahoma City, but they fought back in the second quarter, made it close, led in the fourth quarter, and had a chance to beat the champs, who were only 6-6 in the last 12 games and not playing well. But after a big go-ahead hoop with 3 seconds left, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander scores at the bucket, and then Oklahoma City wins in overtime. Let's get to the best of the postgame show.
It's Jazz Recap here on DJ and PK 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jake Scott with you. The Jazz went to overtime, but came up just short against the Thunder, 129-125. Jazz had a 2-point lead with 3 seconds to go in regulation after a Lowry Markkanen putback, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander hits the game tire on the other side, sending it to overtime where the Jazz came up just short. Big performances from Lowry Markkanen, 29 and 13. Keontae George, 25 and 11 assists. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander with 46 points for the Thunder to get the win. Let's get to the postgame sound and Jazz head coach Will Hardy.
Yeah, our scramble around the basket was tremendous in that quarter. They had 4 paint points in the second quarter, which was a really, really good moment for us. I thought the second and the fourth quarters both, we did a great job protecting the paint. And they're a tough team to guard. They're very good at creating the advantage off the dribble. Obviously, Shai gets a ton of credit, and he should, but their team as a whole does an amazing job of putting pressure on the paint off the bounce. So I thought the team did a really good job in the second quarter, to claw our way back into the game. And then in the fourth quarter again, of really shifting to help and guarding the ball. I thought there were some physical plays made at the basket, which is an area that we are really trying to improve. So, like I said, I'm really proud of our team after that game. You know, I wanted that win bad for them coming down the stretch, but if we can just cling to that level of competitiveness, we're going to be just fine.
What were some of those things, kind of late game and overtime, that without rewatching, obviously, that you would like to execute better?
Yeah, I mean, the last play when we're up 2, getting the ball directed to the crowded side. You know, ideally the catch for Shea is a little bit tougher, albeit with 3 seconds left. He does catch it moving out towards half court, but, you know, Bryce is on the inbounder and jumping into shift quickly and, you know, recognizing that with that amount of time, it's hard to take a dribble and pass and have somebody else get a shot off. But Shea does a great job of getting low and getting to where he wants to go with the ball. You know, we also did talk in the timeout about they were in the bonus, and the last thing we wanted to do was foul in that moment. You know, you want to make them earn it by making a tough shot, and he did. You know, credit to Shea. That's why he's the MVP. And then I felt like in overtime, you know, the 2 fouls late in the bonus, the steer foul, and then the foul on the rebound with Chet, you know, those are moments where you want to make them earn it. And again, I don't want that to come across like that's why we lost. It's not. But there are things that you can learn from in these one-possession close games at the end, because you have to do everything to give yourself a chance to win, especially against an elite team.
What made the decision for Walt to be on the quarter late in the fourth and then also overtime? And then in addition to that, I know that he'd probably like to have a few missed shots back, but what can you say about what he was able to do late?
Well, hopefully the reason that Walt was in is relatively obvious. He was playing well. And, yeah, I think, you know, his aggressiveness late in the game was really good for us. You know, it's a good learning moment for Keontae and for Lowry that takes a lot of energy to get to that point, and then it takes a lot more to have the ball and be getting picked up full court and the ball pressure and the physicality that they play with. And I thought Walt being a secondary ball handler was really good for us. You know, made a bunch of plays, but some of the missed shots, you know, they're tough. You know, when you're playing off of a shot fake and a step through in the paint against that team, those shots aren't maybe as easy as they may look to people on TV. I thought Walt was outstanding tonight.
That's Jazz head coach Will Hardy. Let's now move on to the players and hear from Keontae George.
Just say our compete level. I felt for the past probably a couple weeks now, we've been kind of talking about the same things over and over again. Will has been talking to us about the same things over and over again. So just to go out there against the defending champs, obviously, trying to give them our best game and kind of find our identity when it comes to being out there in between the lines. And so like I said, just a compete level. That was the main thing that stood out. So when the compete level is there, you know, that's when we're able to kind of nitpick on some things that could, you know, get us over the hump to, you know, win a game like this.
How important are these late game overtime games against the top teams in the league?
I mean, for sure, really important. I think I've said it before, like just when we can put ourselves like in these situations, you know, having to find ways to take care of the ball, having to find ways to get Lowry the ball and make sure they're clean shots, or even just the 5 people out there, like even Walt tonight, out there playing phenomenal, came in, guarding, rebounding. Like for all of us, that's a great experience, including me. So I think for us, like I said, it's just real important because you know, Will says all the time, young people come in this league and all they want is opportunity. So tonight was an opportunity for us to really play, you know, like you said, against the top team in the NBA, and kind of see where we're at. At the end of the day, we know where we're trying to get to, and we understand it's a process. But like you said, it's really important to find ways to, like I said, put ourselves in tough games or even winning games by 10 or 15. Like if we can, when we can continue to just try to find ways to do that, as a team, we're going to look back on this and understand it was for the greater good.
You mentioned your teammate Walt. What more can you say about what he was able to do late tonight?
I mean, you've seen it tonight. Big time, pull up, going right from the three. I mean, I talk to him about that all the time. Like, not a lot of people in this league have that shot. And the fact that, you know, I feel like my rookie year, I worked on that shot, and I kind of tell him, like, don't hesitate, bro. When we out there on the floor together, I tell him all the time, like, we should let it fly. Like, I don't got to be the point guard. Like we just play off each other. And then you add Lowry to the mix. You add whoever you want to add to it, but specifically Walt. Like, he has the ability to score at all three levels. Can pass the ball. I mean, like he got a lot of things to him. So I've just been honestly just staying on him about being confident. Because when you can be a dynamic guard in this league, then you give Will the chance to throw out different lineups. And it don't matter how tall he is or how short his arms are. The fact of the matter is that he was able to impact the game tonight on both ends. So, you know, kudos to Walt. I be on his head all the time, every single day. I talk to him so much. So the fact that he was in this game tonight, you know, I'm just happy for Walt. So the work is showing. Obviously, it showed today, but I just honestly feel like that's another stepping stool, you know, for Walt to kind of come into his own as we go through the season still.
You guys finish this 4-game road trip with a lot of energy, a lot of effort tonight, back-to-back tomorrow against the Mavs. What are you hoping to take into that game after finishing this trip?
I mean, it's the NBA. Like, we know it's going to be, we're going to have tough schedules, whatever it is. I know you hear it all the time, no boys allowed. So I just want to keep harping on our compete level. If we can go back home, we get the energy from our home fans now. So if we can keep that compete level, I mean, like I said, that's when we can nitpick about, you know, the basketball piece as far as, you know, thinking the game out and stuff like that. But if we're not competing, we just laying down, there's no need for, you know, for guys to try to throw out different schemes and stuff like that. So for us, we're young. We should have an advantage when it comes to playing teams, whatever, if they're on a back-to-back or if we're on a back-to-back or not. So I think we just got to just compete, bro. Just have fun doing it, play off one another. So I think this game has kind of really showed us that we got the energy level, the compete level, just everything for us to put a good 48, you know, against, you know, the top of the top.
That's Keontae George, 25 and 11 last night from Key. Let's now hear from Walter Clayton.
Tough environment, but to stay in the game and finish in the stretches, what did it feel like for you in that?
Just felt like, you know, the guys on the coaches had a little bit of trust in me to go out there, you know, be in the game down the stretch.
How are you learning to play in these kind of big moments like this? You've done it in college, but at this level as well.
Yeah, for sure it's different. You know, this is the biggest stage in basketball, so just learning kind of what I did in college. Stay focused, you know, kind of keep my mind straight.
How has you and Keontae's relationship helped you on the court, especially in moments like this? I know you guys talk a lot and to try to help each other out.
For sure, it's just a trust factor. You know, at the end of the day, I know on the court I could trust him. He knows he could trust me. You know, some of that is built off the court for sure.
How much are you leaning on the fact that you know that you're not just like a one-sided guard, that you can do multiple things on the court?
I think I'm just trying to go out every night and do whatever the team need me to do. You know, at this point, obviously, we got some great players and some guys who are going to come out and do what they do every night. So just trying to fill in the holes wherever they are.
Where do you feel like your defense has been lately?
Been up and down. Just got to be more consistent for sure. Just get my chest on people, being a little bit more physical. You know, obviously they're calling some fouls, so still learning, you know, through that whole situation.
That's Walt Clayton, 15 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, but the Jazz fall to the Thunder, 129-125. Next up, the Jazz have a game tonight. The Dallas Mavericks are in town, 7 o'clock tip, 6 o'clock pregame, right here on 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.
There's the best of the postgame show as the Utah Jazz lose on the road, while the Utah Mammoth win at home. Let's get to the best of the postgame show for the Mammoth.
I am thrilled to announce that the Utah Mammoth will be hosting right here in Rice-Eccles Stadium the Discovered 2027 NHL Winter Classic, and we couldn't be more excited about it.
There's NHL Commissioner Gary Bettman announcing yesterday at Rice-Eccles Stadium that Utah and the Mammoth will host the 2027 NHL Winter Classic. It'll be the Mammoth and the Colorado Avalanche. Then we all went downtown to Delta Center, where the Mammoth beat the Ottawa Senators by a count of 3-1 to open a 7-game homestand. It was a contest where the Mammoth jumped up early and never looked back. Lawson Krause, 3:59 into the first period.
Jake Sanderson, the #1 defenseman for Ottawa. He'll be on Team USA in the Olympics. Backdoor pass, and they score! Lawson Krause lasers one in, and the Mammoth are off and running.
3 minutes and 21 seconds later, John Marino would slam this home.
Schmidt, Keller, one-timer, tipped wide, rebound, they score! Johnny Marino makes it 2-0.
So 2 goals in the first 7 minutes and 20 seconds, both assisted by team captain Clayton Keller for his team-leading 12th multiple-point game. He now has the sole lead for the team in points with 38 in 48 games on 13 goals and 25 assists. So 2-0 Utah there. They'd hang on the rest of the way. Ottawa got one back late in the first. Utah in the second. It was a period with a lot of penalties, a lot of special teams. They had 3 power plays. They killed a couple penalties, kept it 2-1. And in that third period, Karel Vejmelka would keep it 2-1, denying Shane Pinto on a breakaway.
Offensive end for Utah, cut off by Brady Tkachuk. It's a breakaway now for Pinto. Pinto right in, shoots, and he's denied by Karel Vejmelka. Vejmelka's superb night continues.
After it was a 2-1 game for almost half of the contest, 28 minutes and 1 second, Daniil Boot would find this loose puck in the crease and just keep slamming until it went in.
He dips down the near wall. Brandon Tanev around behind the Ottawa net. Wraparound, shut down, rebound loose. It's still loose. They're trying to jam it in. Miralainen got back. Utah saying it's in, and it is. The Mammoth kick down the door and make it 3-1.
Second goal of the season for the 20-year-old, 3-1 Utah, the final. And that is where we ended up on Wednesday night as the Mammoth improved to 21-20-3 on the year and in a 3-way tie for the wild card in the Western Conference. Let's hear what the Mammoth thought of this one, starting with Lawson Krause, who got the scoring started for the Mammoth on his 10th of the year.
The first period, needing to find an answer. It looks like your team found that. What was it, and what did it take, especially towards the end of the game?
Yeah, it took a lot of grind. That pressure kept coming from them. We did a good job. We found a way to close it out. That's what's important.
How were you guys able to channel some of that emotion that turned into some of those penalties, or rather the PK, into, I guess, an emotional discipline?
Yeah, the PK is very... we're very direct, and I feel like we're doing a pretty good job. And anytime you can kill game momentum from that, and but at the end of the day, you got to try and save the box. Yeah.
Game management-wise, what did you assess from your group as a whole tonight?
Yeah, I think there was ups and downs throughout the game, just like there's going to be in any game. But like I said earlier, we found a way to close it out and get a big 2 points.
What stood out about the first period and the energy, the effort, the goals that you guys had?
Yeah, just, we were ready to go right from the drop of the puck. And when you get a lead, it's much better to play with a lead.
Your defensemen continue to be on the score sheet, goals, assists. What do you see how that decor contributing every game?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we wouldn't be here without our D. And, they contribute all over the ice, defensively, offensively. And, it's great to see Johnny get one. He's obviously a great guy and really good with the puck and makes some solid plays, and nice to see him get rewarded finally.
Second game where Krause has been on that top line with Nick Schmaltz and Clayton Keller, and the Mammoth have started things off with a couple of wins since head coach Andre Tourigny shook up the lines. Utah defenseman John Marino entered Wednesday night leading the team with a +19. He'd finish Wednesday night with a +21 goal differential 5-on-5 when he's on the ice. He scored that second goal. It turned out to be the game winner, his first ever goal at the Delta Center. We heard from him after the game.
To get there, can you kind of just assess how much effort it took, especially towards the middle late of the game, to get there?
Yeah, we got those first 2 goals early. Sure. Krauser touched on it. They had a big push there in the first. They played well. They outworked us at times, and probably overhauled the whole game. We kind of snuck away with that one, but and I think the way we were able to sustain their pressure at least, and just limit their grade A chances. Yeah.
You obviously got a goal tonight as well. What's allowed you to have so much confidence in your game, especially with this group, and maybe as of late?
Yeah, I think it's just the whole team. We've been playing well. Throughout the season, we were just not able to finish some of those wins. It's going to come down to the wire here, but I think overall as a year, despite the record, we've been playing well, pretty good hockey. But I think that's a huge part of it.
When a game like this is emotional, especially in the middle of it, how do you guys feel like you've evolved in not letting those things get the best of you towards the end of the game?
Yeah, it's a long game. There's going to be ups and downs. They're going to have their momentum swings, and we're going to have ours. Kind of like in the second, we got into trouble with the penalties and everything. TK did a huge job. I think that was a big momentum boost for us, going forward.
Coach has always talked about how it's game by game. Coming into this first game after a lot of games on the road, he wanted you guys to bring energy, to keep that focus. How do you feel your team did with that?
Yeah, I think we fed off that, that last win and, against the Rangers, and hopefully we'll feed off this one. But that's what you want to do is, build on top of, good games like that, and, take away the good, learn from it, and, move forward.
Believe it or not, that was your first goal at the Delta Center. What did it feel like to light up the building for the first time?
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for reminding me.
Karl Vejmelka getting the victory and goal for Utah improves to 19-11-2. He now is in sole possession of the NHL lead in wins. He stopped 32 of 33 a day after being named to the Olympic team for Czechia. So congratulations to Veggie there. Let's hear what head coach Andre Turney said after the game.
First of all, they're a good team. They play hard. They're tough to play against. They give them a lot of credit. They do a good job. Second, I think, was we play hard, especially at the end of the game. I think early on, even if we took the lead, I think we were that was a little bit an adjustment for us. And in the third, I really think when the game was on the line, when push come to shove, we really raised our game, raised our urgency, and we were really stingy, and we had pace, and we had composure. So I like that. The way we closed the game was 2-1. There was no panic, no stress in our game. That was just urgency and focus. So I'm really proud of the guys for that.
Being able to get 2 quick goals in the first period, first 7.5 minutes, what did you see out of those 2 goals and the effort into getting those?
Yeah, I like the way we scored those goals, in the sense we had traffic, we went at the net, that generated a second opportunity, and so on and so forth. So I think early on our mindset was really good. When we took the lead, we were a little bit more passive, and like I said, they play hard. That's one of the teams this year we played, and they're heavy, they battle hard, they have an intensity, they're hard in their battle. You need to really be ready to work, and the second half of the first period, obviously, then we struggled in our breakout. They won battles, they put pucks at the net. Veggie made a few key saves. Again, will never be perfect. I don't try to criticize the game. It's just you're looking at, okay, what really happened more than just the score. And I think second period was more balanced, and in the third, I really like the way we played 5-on-5. If you look scoring chance at 5-on-5, we didn't get much after the first period. I think we gave 1 or 2 in the second and 1 in the third, something like that. That was really stingy, so really proud of the guys for that.
Mammoth will be back in action on Friday, taking on the St. Louis Blues. Sunday at 5 o'clock, the Columbus Blue Jackets will come to town. On Friday night, we'll be on the air at 6 o'clock here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone with Hockey Night in Utah. Puck will drop just after 7 p.m. And then on Sunday, we'll be back here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, with a 4 p.m. edition of Hockey Night in Utah and a 5 o'clock face-off. We'll have more on the Winter Classic coming up on today's edition of Mammoth Daily. Mike Folta and I, exclusive interviews with Gary Bettman and Logan Cooley, who's been injured for the last month for Utah, but he was up at the big announcement on Wednesday that Utah was awarded the Winter Classic on Apple, Spotify, Utah Mammoth YouTube page, Mammoth Plus, SCG Plus, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll talk to you coming up on Mammoth Daily, and we'll talk to you coming up tomorrow back here at the Delta Center.
We'll have more on the Utah Mammoth coming up. The Winter Classic coming to Utah. Dom Moore is going to join us to talk about hockey outdoors at Rice-Eccles Stadium. We're going to take a break right now. Come back with BYU's Tanner Wall. Stay with us. DJ PK, and we're joined now by Tanner Wall, former BYU free safety. Tanner, good morning.
Morning, guys. How we doing?
We are doing well this morning. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
As a guy who's been through college football now, as you watch everything that's happening with coaches moving, assistant coaches moving, quarterbacks on the carousel for $5 million or more, is this all new and normal to you, or do you still have some of the, I don't know, stunned, maybe not the outrage, fans have some outrage, but are you still surprised or stunned by it, or is it just new normal and you're not blinking anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it seems to be just the new normal. With the way it's structured, I'm not surprised by it at all. To see, I mean, basically, every player in the country is a free agent. It's kind of funny to see, the graphics put out by certain schools saying, I've agreed to another 1-year deal, or I've re-signed, with my college. But that's just kind of the state of where we are right now and how it's set up. So I think we're going to continue to see it unless some changes come down the pipeline. But also, with the way that they have only offered one portal window, the frenzy right now seems to be as crazy as ever.
Yeah, it really is. There's no question about that. And you had worked your way up. You're a success story, obviously, from how you got there and end up finishing as one of the better players, one of the leaders and all that. And that's been acknowledged. Your story has been told. It's a great story. It's something that young people can look up to and aspire to. It's that motivating and all that stuff and inspirational. And with that leadership came opportunities to see who was good as far as the coaching staff and how they came together. So I think you have an opportunity to speak to this more than most folks in terms of what does the loss to Jay Hill mean to this BYU defense and how it overcomes, because he probably wasn't going to stay there forever, and so now he goes, so be it. But what did he mean, and what do they need to do to overcome it?
Yeah, no, I completely agree just on the value that Jay has brought to our program. When he came in 2023, very early on, you could tell the kind of expectations that he had for us as a defense and as a team. And I really do feel good. I feel confident and comfortable knowing that a lot of the things that he has kind of installed and instilled in the players and in the program will continue. From a scheme perspective, this defense is very familiar to a lot of guys on that staff, right? It's the same defense. Kalani knew this defense even before Jay came, right? They all kind of learned it together in their time at Utah. And so this coaching tree and a lot of the guys that we have and have been able to retain at BYU through all of this, they're very familiar with this scheme. Now, obviously, from a leadership perspective, whoever it is that we expect to kind of be the coordinator on the defensive side of the ball is going to have their own nuances and put their own, little wrinkles in it. But, I still feel very confident in the future of where we're going as far as the BYU defense. But again, speaking to Jay, I mean, he's an amazing coach, amazing mentor. The way that he's able to, help players and coaches prepare for the games and just feel mentally like they've mastered exactly what they're supposed to do going into the game. You're able to play with a lot of confidence. And I know that's something that he'll take with him wherever he goes.
Jay's been at 3 different schools now, and all the schools have experienced high water marks while he's been there. And football's so big. Nobody does anything by themselves, but you can't ignore the fact that there have been high water marks now at 3 different schools. And I'm curious, and you just started to touch on it there, he's probably good at all this stuff, but where did you feel the most impact? Was it the schemes, and when you're watching film, you're like, wow, this is a super smart game plan. They're not going to be able, we got him. Or is it things that he says on the sideline or in the locker room, and it's like an emotional, psychological thing? What is Jay's superpower?
I think it's a multifaceted thing. Like, I think it comes from a lot of different buckets of his style. From a personality standpoint, he's a competitor at the highest level. He hates losing. He wants to win at everything. But also the culture and just kind of the expectation, as I mentioned. Like we came into the year expecting to win every game, and we came into the year expecting, when we play in the Veldert Stadium, like the home field advantage we have, like we're going to win every game in that stadium. And then for even like, he's a coach, some coaches and their styles are different, but he's a coach who would, show up to off-season workouts. He would see, okay, how are we looking running? How are we looking in the weight room? How, is the intensity there? Are the leaders leading? And so there was this accountability that was ingrained into everything that we did. And then going back to just like the game day prep, it's a next level of preparation that, I think most people would love to see the whole process and see exactly what he does and how he builds his call sheet. And by the time he gets to game day, he's got the things so dialed as far as exactly what calls he likes in different situations, between pressures, man pressures, zone pressures, what I like in third and medium, what I like on base downs, based on where we are in the field, based on personnel. And he's got it, so figured out by game day. It's like this game of chess, but he's, kind of feeling like he's not reacting, but he's two to three steps ahead, knowing exactly what he wants to do. And his preparation is, I don't know if psychotic is the right word. that might have a negative connotation to it, but just trying to paint the picture of truly how much time and effort he puts into that.
As you say, these guys learned this at Utah, so it has been imparted to the guys who've stayed on the staff. At minimum, it's rubbed off on them, and more than likely, it's far greater than simply saying it's rubbed off on them. It's ingratiated in them. So with that in mind, if you were the president of BYU football and had the opportunity to make the decision, would you rather see someone be elevated internally or go outside?
Well, it's a good thing I'm not the president making that choice, but I really do feel a lot of confidence knowing the coaches that we have on the defensive side of the ball. I think there's a lot of guys who could do that job extremely well. Gary Anderson's a name that's been thrown around a ton in recent, days and weeks. And the value that he's added at BYU too has to be recognized. I think he's kind of one who flies under the radar quite a bit to fans and others who maybe don't really understand the level of involvement that he has, just because it seems to be somewhat of a backseat role, but he's very much in the day-to-day and helping us really dial our scheme. And Coach Kelly Poppinga is another one who, has had a lot of on his plate with being our special teams coordinator, and has done an incredible job doing that. And I could see him as well being someone who could play a huge role as a play caller. But even Kalani, if he wanted to, be more of a guy with a play sheet in his hand on game day, I could see him doing that. But there's a lot of, as you said, that coaching staff because they're day in, day out doing this, and they've been learning it and feel comfortable with it. There's a lot of them who know that scheme, understand it. We can put our own, spin on it as far as where we want to take it. But it's gonna be there. If it's an internal hire, then it's gonna continue to look a lot like what it looks like right now.
Can you explain to us how Kalani handles the part about being really involved, but at the same time letting coaches coach, which we've heard multiple coordinators and position coaches down there have praised him for that, but at the same time he doesn't have his hands off the reins either. How do you see him balance those things?
Yeah, it's a definitely his unique way of doing it, and from a player standpoint, Kalani's like ultimate strength from our point of view is just the leader that he is, and now he's able to really just inspire the boys and make sure that we all feel valued and feel like we have something to add to the success of the team, whether you're a scout team guy or whether you're an All-American starter. Everyone plays a role in the program. And from a leadership perspective, he, is very good at doing the managerial things of, being the captain, guiding the ship. But as you said, he gives a lot of autonomy to the coordinators. He doesn't want to step on toes, and because at the end of the day, you got to recognize this is a profession and a field with a lot of egos from players and from coaches, right? You got a lot of guys who want to be successful, got a lot of guys who have their own way of doing things, and so from Kalani's point of view, I think he understands how valuable it is to let coordinators and let position coaches have their own autonomy and call their own shots. And if there's moments when he needs to step in, then he will. But I think that just comes from the level of trust that he has for his staff. And I mean, when you look at his staff too, it makes sense that he does that. You've got amazing coaches across the board, across all positions. So letting them kind of take the reins in their own rooms and on their sides of the ball, I think he's very comfortable knowing that they're going to do it exactly how he expects them to. And if there's, some changes or things that need to be made, then he can step in.
If a 15-year-old came to you now and said, hey, I've watched you, I know your story, I want to be the next Tanner Wall, I want to be a Satawala, whatever it might be, what would you say to a youngster as someone who wants to achieve what you've achieved? What would it take and what would they need to do?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. There's a lot to that. The thing that I would say to focus, the level of discipline that you have to achieve, something like this is next level. Just because there's a lot of kids out there who are great athletes, right? There's tons of great athletes across the country who could play at the next level. But, you have to be the kind of person from a leadership perspective where, your team, if you were not going to play on a Friday night game in high school, your team was going to feel it. It's shoot, that's a hole that we don't really know how to fill. Your value to your team has to be so high, both on and off the field. But also there's a level of that too, where it's just you got to be a playmaker. You have to find a way to impact the game anytime the ball touches your hand or a play comes near you. And so you got to prepare for those opportunities. But also football IQ and studying film is a huge thing, and I think that's one thing in high school that can go undervalued just because of resources or coaching or other things. But, your understanding for the game can help you, perform at a high level. And I think if you haven't seen the whole process, or maybe you're not too familiar, as a high school kid, you're going to think, okay, more footwork, more lifting, more routes on air with my quarterback or whatever it is. And it's like, your body can only take so much. It's like, you gotta train the mind as well. So be a holistic, be the full picture football player where you can be, a star across all the different levels of what it takes to be great.
How much film do you watch in season? How much film do you watch in the off season? How much do you watch your own film? How much do you watch other teams? And how much, when you're in high school, should a high school kid be watching college and pros? And when you're in the college, how much should you be watching the NFL? Figuring those guys are even more detail oriented.
Yeah, no. So in a typical week for us, I mean, we're probably together as a unit, probably 7 to 8 hours, I would say, of film. And then outside of that, I think those of us who take it very seriously are watching, close to an hour a day on our own. And so, that adds up to, let's just call it 15, 16 hours a week for a game. And then in high school, the thing in high school that can be tough is like either film quality might not be as good or the angles. And so it might be a little bit harder to break down depending on like what sort of resources your school has. But like if a school has the opportunity to invest in that kind of stuff, like I would say absolutely do it. Just being able to watch film from both a sideline angle and an end zone, a back or a front angle is huge. The NFL film, it's interesting because the way that kind of, Coach Hill he taught us to watch film and look for tendencies and patterns and those kinds of things. The NFL is very different from traditional college patterns, I would say, because, there's a lot more under center. They throw the ball a lot more from like pistol under center. And there's, different patterns with that. So I'm kind of excited to make that jump as far as watching and looking for, different tendencies and things that I can learn as far as, what differentiates the pro schemes from a lot of the college ones.
You speak of the NFL, I assume you're going to give that an opportunity to see how it plays out, and you're well aware that the lifespan of the average NFL guy isn't very long. So with that in mind, short-term NFL opportunity, what do you want beyond that?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna pursue my football career in the NFL for as long as I can. Feel like I got a good shot and can add a lot of value wherever I end up. But I got my degree at BYU in finance, and I've been working on my
Yeah, Tanner's joining us by video there, and it froze and locked up. So I think he was working on an MBA, I think he was about to say. We'll see if we can get him back.
It continues to be more impressive.
I know, right? Well, you could tell by his answers. He's back with us now. Tanner, you locked up there. You got your degree in finance and?
Oh, yeah. And I've been working on my master's as well. So I've been getting my MBA, and just through a lot of the networking and other, cool opportunities that I've had to rub shoulders with amazing alumni and others in and around BYU, have become connected to some cool entrepreneurial ventures and opportunities with some startups. So I've, been able to do some work with them on the side as an intern and doing different things. So got some really cool opportunities. My level of involvement right now is small, but a lot of them have said the thing, whenever you're not a football player, we want you working and doing some stuff with us. So have some cool opportunities in the business realm to pivot into that whenever the football train comes to a stop.
Reno Mahe, after he was in the NFL a few years, said he would tell every high school and college player, embrace special teams. Don't be one of those people who runs from those. That you've got to have that to make it in the NFL, unless you're a quarterback or a superstar, I guess. How many special teams do you think you can play in the NFL?
I mean, shoot, I'd like to think I could play all of them. I've played a ton of special team snaps in my career at BYU. So, yeah, no, I can block on punt and cover, block and cover on kickoff and kickoff return. I played a lot of punt return, so I mean, I've done it all. So I'm confident that I could contribute on any of those teams at the next level.
All right. Well, Tanner, good luck going forward. Thanks for joining us and sharing your perspective on the wild world of college football today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's nice to be with you guys this morning. I appreciate it.
There's former BYU safety Tanner Wall. When we come back, what is trending? The headlines are next.
It's time to get your morning started with the news you need to know. News update. This is what's trending with DJ and PK. Hashtag Utah Jazz.
Marketing comes up to set the pick. Clayton goes behind his back, now through his leg, tries with the right hand, into the paint, jump stop, short. Lowry soars in, catches, and puts a reverse layup off the glass and in. 3.2 seconds left. The entire arena on their feet. Mitchell, the second-year player out of Santa Barbara, will inbound on the far side. Shea is closest to Mitchell. Williams at the top, Holmgren on the near side. Mitchell has the basketball. Inbound to Shea, 3 seconds left. Drives with the left hand, pulls from the mid-range. Hits it. We're going to overtime. 129-125. Deontay three-quarter court shot. And the Jazz put out a fabulous effort. Really felt like a great effort from the very beginning. And fall short.
Jazz lose 129-125 in overtime. Were you worried Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was going to miss there in the final seconds, PK? The Jazz are going to get out of there with a win?
Oh, I don't know that I was worried. I don't know that I was thinking, oh, my gosh, he's going to make it for sure. But he's really good at that. He's a slithery dude. Manages to get to the line. What did he get? How many free throws did he shoot? 80 against the Jazz. What do you have? He was at the line a lot. I mean, he's a good player, and he's hard to defend. You know, he's tall. He's lanky. He can move his body. So I felt confident for their sakes that he would probably get a good shot unless the Jazz just decided that they were going to send 2 or 3 guys after him. But at that point, you know, to me, I was comfortable if they won because that would have been a good sign. But the fact that they lost is even a better sign. And they had to go to overtime, which should gas them for tonight. And so get a home loss and continue on that road to AJ. That's my whole, forget the road to the Final Four. That's for the Cougars. The road for the Jazz is the road to AJ. Or at least somebody else. Carlos Boozer's son had a big game. So continues my hope that they get a top 2 or 3 pick, maybe top 1, maybe the first pick, maybe finally Lady Luck will shine upon them. It would be really cool.
Markkanen leading them with 29 points. They had 5 guys in double figures, including Walter Clayton Jr. off the bench. You like him playing some big minutes late in the game, hitting some really tough shots. Yeah. 15 points in 27 minutes. He's getting some minutes here, closing games.
Well, he did. He did against the Thunder, yeah. And, you know, he's an older kid because he played the whole time in college.
4 years,
so he's older than most of these younger guys and has been there at least at collegiate level. And so far, you know, where did they pick him? I don't even remember now, but it was later, right? And at this point, it looks like he might have something that could be a valuable asset to somebody. Like Nick Saban talks about creating value for your employer. Obviously, for them, it would be when he was coaching at Alabama. Most of them would want to be the NFL, but not all are going to make it. Very few, actually. So still create value. So what Walt is doing right now is creating value for himself for the Jazz, and that's a good sign.
Yeah, he was the 18th pick in the draft. As you mentioned, it is back-to-back. Cooper Flagg and the Mavericks here tonight. Tip-off at 7 o'clock, pregame at 6. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NBA.
Good news for the Jazz draft prospects. The Atlanta Hawks trade Trae Young to the Wizards in exchange for C.J. McCollum and Corey Kispert. Young had wanted to land in Washington. According to reports, he'd been in Atlanta 7 years. He's got $95 million remaining on the deal with a player option for next season. And he's not going to make him great, but he ought to make him less bad, right?
Oh, I don't know about that, man.
Really? You sense a lot of losses coming?
Atlanta was way better without him. That's why they wanted to get rid of him.
Yes.
And that's why he wanted out.
But doesn't Atlanta have more players than Washington? And I totally get that side of the argument. But for the Wizards, it seemed like the cupboard was a little more bare.
And so taking Trae Young in there for him to score a bunch of points and you lose, I don't see how he affects winning. And he may be a nice individual player who puts up nice stats, but how does he? You're acting like all of a sudden the Wizards are going to win more games with Trae Young? I don't know that I see it.
10-26, they lost to the Sixers yesterday. 10-26 as he moves to the club.
I hope so. I hope you're right. I hope he flourishes and the team goes on a second half of a run.
Well, he
seemed to me.
He could also get hurt and miss a bunch of games. And if that happens, and now they don't have McCollum, then the losses will pile up. The cupboard is even more bare if he's not out there, right?
Yeah.
The Nets looked like they might get a win. Magic and Nets trading big shots right there at the end. And the former BYU Cougar, Egor Demon, with a big shot there at the end, but trumped at the buzzer, and the Magic win 104-103 in overtime.
Yegor, man, I thought he couldn't shoot. He's shooting just fine, and his name isn't Demon. That was in Provo.
Yeah,
it's like
Provo,
now.
Say it,
he
Yak.
plays for
Yegor
Brooklyn.
Dielman.
Say it again.
Yegor Dielman.
Dielman. I don't see the L, but okay, I'm rolling with it.
Well, for the
I'm
Nets,
saying
I
you're
see a
wrong,
lot of
Yak.
Ls.
It's yeah, I know. So the Jazz almost got a little help there with the Nets winning, but the Nets are still stuck on 10 wins. Too bad. So sad didn't catch the break. Hornets also nearly won, but they're sitting on 13 wins right now. Raptors got them 97-96 with a shot at the buzzer. So a couple buzzer beaters. LeBron set out the Lakers' loss to the Spurs. If he misses one more game, he's going to be falling below the 65-game threshold, eligible to make him eligible for NBA awards. That would end his record streak, 21 seasons in a row as a member of the All-NBA teams. And it does seem like he's certain to miss one more game at this point. It would be surprising if he didn't. But there you go.
I don't know that he would make the All-NBA team either way.
Yeah. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college basketball.
A laugher. BYU rolls 2-0 now in conference. 13-1. They blow out Arizona State 104-76. Richie Saunders, a career high 31 points. Plenty of guys with stats because they scored 104 points in 40 minutes. They were flying.
I got to see Saunders get some consistency with his scoring, with his jump shot. You know, it's fine when you're up 20 to be able to hit shots. He's got a different role on this team this year. And I want to see him, if he can get a little more consistency in the tougher games, and obviously the last night one was
not
one of them.
Those, yeah.
That would be a huge boost because they really do need the core guys to play well virtually every game. If like Bosovic gives you 8 points off the bench, we want to celebrate that because they don't get much production. So it's going to need to come from the three, and Kate obviously isn't a scorer, and Davis is a junkyard dog kind of guy who does a lot of different things for you. And so right now, I pretty much every game, I can count on DeBonsa and Wright doing their thing. And I gotta get some more consistency out of Saunders, which he's very capable of doing for sure. I don't think he's a big sky player. I'm not saying like that where I used to say some of those guys would have big games against the lower level competition. He's very capable of having big games against big competition. And if he can do that, you know, this team, and we're still 2 months away, obviously, but still has a chance to do something that they haven't done, and that would be the Final Four.
But to your point, against some of the bigger name opponents, he's been pretty quiet. And he had 17 points against UConn, but he was 0 for 7 from the three-point line. He had 0 for 7 from the three-point line against Clemson and only 5 points. His only other game he wasn't in double figures was Miami. So those are some of the better opponents they faced. He led at Wisconsin. That was a blowout, but still supposed to be one of the better opponents they faced. We'll see how Wisconsin does. While BYU was rolling, Utah loses in Boulder, Colorado, 85-73. And tonight, Big Sky action, Weber State at the Sky Dome, PK. Your old stomping grounds are playing NAU tonight.
I lit it up there in intramurals many times.
Had a kid.
SUU's several courts on the football field there.
SUU is at UVU at 6 o'clock, and Utah Tech is at Cal Baptist. DJ and PK.
Hashtag NFL.
Dallas Cowboy owner and general manager Jerry Jones said he still has aspirations and dreams at the age of 83, saying, "My goal in life is to retire as the owner that won the most Super Bowls. That's my goal, to be retired in the NFL as the owner that won most Super Bowls. We've got 3. How many more do I have to go as a single owner? Robert Kraft's got how many? 6? So I got work to do. Got work to do. But at least I'm up on the second rung in the ladder."
Yeah, I don't see how an owner actually retires unless he sells.
Yeah, nobody thinks Jerry Jones is going to sell.
And as Ford Scally said the other day, that he was his dream to play running back for the Utes when they moved him to safety. And he said Kyle Whittingham's dream was to play center field for the Angels. And that wasn't going to happen.
Not happening.
We all have dreams. I wanted to play third base for the Dodgers. And at about 14, I realized to myself, I said, PK, you got no chance.
It's good you figured it out that early. Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh hailing his brother John after John was fired by the Baltimore Ravens, saying John will be out of a job very long and should be a head coach again ASAP. John Harbaugh's the best coach I know, the best coach I've ever seen. I'm his brother, so I might be biased. Well, I do think he's right about getting another job real quick if he wants one. Sometimes
the best coach he's ever seen. I'm his brother. Brady Poppinga said that same thing yesterday about his brother Kelly.
Yeah.
So I love loyalty in the family. It's always sad when there is disloyalty in the family. Like you and your brothers, oh my gosh, the stuff I've heard from them that I can't repeat about you, it's sad.
Yeah, it's all true. Every last bit, and they're probably still holding some stuff back. There's probably even more.
Well, no, they were just praising your charity work.
Russell Wilson, switching agents, says he intends to play next season. Yeah, I'm not blinking. I know what I'm capable of. I think I showed that in Dallas. I want to do that again. Just be ready to rock and roll and be as healthy as possible and be able to play ball.
Okay, what league? What sport? Because didn't he get drafted? Was he one of those guys that, like Kyler Murray,
drafted as a
didn't get
baseball
drafted
player?
in the MLB?
I vaguely have a memory of that, yes.
He was a baseball draft pick, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe he's talking about MLB, man. Michael Jordan, here we go.
Saints are committing to Tyler Shuck being their starting quarterback next season. He was 5-4 as the team's starter as a rookie. Kellen Moore, the head coach, telling reporters Tyler's done an awesome job through the entire process. He's gotten a ton better. He's taken advantage of a bunch of opportunities. So,
a Phoenix kid.
Another one.
Yeah. Well, he went to several different places.
Yep.
Texas Tech was along the way. Oregon, I think Louisville also. And the great comment that we saw last year on, and I've repeated this, draft night, is when they had the cameras there and they showed his family. The Dateline said Scottsdale when he grew up in Chandler, and then folks in Arizona and the Valley were on social media say, "Yep, that's that NIL working for you," because instead of Chandler as his home, it said Scottsdale, which is a ritzier area. I'm more of a Chandler guy. DJ, you're more of a Scottsdale guy.
Oh, well, now I understand it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Put it in your terms.
DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football. Hashtag BYU.
BYU announcing the promotion of Kelly Poppinga to defensive coordinator. Sione Buell will be associate head coach to Kalani Sitake in addition to coaching defensive tackles. And former SUU coach DeMario Warren is the new defensive passing game coordinator and cornerbacks coach. He's coming to Provo from Boise State. So everything getting aligned in Provo. K-pop.
Yeah, and we were waiting for 2 weeks on the announcement for Poppinga. And away you go. I mean, I love the guy, too. He's not my brother, but it's so many of these guys, it's the sign of me becoming prehistoric in that these guys that are getting these ascensions up the coaching ranks are guys I literally covered as players when I was a beat writer a good while ago. So, I've known the Poppinga family, obviously, for over 20 years. I've known Kelly for many years. I think the world of him. He gets it. He gets the notion of selling BYU at all costs. Put me on the radio. Why? Well, because if I'm talking BYU football, I know the other guy isn't. You guys aren't talking Utah football. So the aspect, and then Kyle Whittingham, cut from the BYU tree, would always talk about recruiting. Praise me all you want, but it's about the players. And that is so true. And Kelly gets that as far as what you need to be successful. He can sell it. Now his defensive acumen, we'll see how that plays out. He's got big shoes to fill. He's a guy who's been in coaching for a good while, been around the country now, various places, has made contacts. So I'm excited for him to get this opportunity. Guys who work hard, we want to see them rewarded. I think it was last winter, maybe the winter before, I sat next to him at a high school basketball game. He's watching some sophomore. I know the kid was a sophomore, and he's just sitting there by himself under the basket. And on a Friday night, I'm thinking there's probably a million other things he'd rather do.
Go to a high school basketball game.
But there was two kids, one on each team, that he was just showing his face, and they were sophomores, and that, hey, we're interested in you. They're linemen. We'll see what happens, because I believe they're only juniors this year, and so they still got another year of high school basketball as we're in region play now, and then obviously football next year. So the point I'm making is he will work. He will pay the price to get the job done.
Got to see those players playing other sports. We've heard all kinds of coaches talk about that. Show their athletic ability, their competitiveness, what kind of teammate they are. Coaches love to look at him and say, okay, you're not a star in this sport, so how's you as a teammate? Because you get to the college level, you might not be the star there anymore in football. So,
yeah, I had a number of scouts. I think that's where I learned the Dodgers weren't interested in me. They came out to me. I came out to watch me play badminton, and I kept just slamming that shuttlecock into the net, and I think they left early.
Nice. DJ and PK.
Hashtag college football.
Ty Simpson entering the NFL draft. He will pass on his senior season at Alabama. Started just 1 year for the Crimson Tide. His father, UT Martin coach Jason Simpson, said Ty received a first-round grade from each NFL general manager they contacted in the decision process. So, expecting to go round one. He is on his way.
Yeah, I saw that, and I was surprised.
That he'd be graded round one?
Yeah. No, I'm not watching him every game the way we are our guys, but it is Alabama, and you do get to see him play a lot. I'm surprised that his dad, who's in the business and should have an idea of what he's talking about and have connections, that they said that it was pretty much a lock that he would go first round. But I haven't watched him enough, and not that I'm a big quarterback analyzer anyway, but just didn't, especially at that position where we've seen so many guys go high and don't work, and we've seen so many guys go low that do work, that the dad was assured that the kid would be a first-round pick, and maybe he will be. Maybe it's just a situation of quarterbacks, and my gosh, if you show any kind of ability, we're going to take you.
Well, 64% of his passes complete, over 3,500 yards, and he had 28 touchdowns and 5 picks. And the thing I did hear, the 2 playoff games they played in the SEC title game, you see a lot of the pregame stuff and all that, and they were always questioning Alabama's ability to run the ball. They didn't have anybody run for 600 yards this year. And so not just the fact, 28 touchdowns, 5 interceptions to turn your head, but the fact that they just never consistently ran the ball, and he was still able to be productive probably earned him some points in the eyes of NFL guys.
All right, so there, he's got your endorsement.
He's going to throw it, and they know he's going to throw it. Yeah, but I'm with you. I haven't watched a bunch of it. I have no idea how it's going to translate. Maybe there's a little bit of, hey, it's a weak quarterback class also, so get into this.
Well, we have to see what happens with the Oregon kid more.
We do, yeah. Former Oklahoma and Auburn quarterback Jackson Arnold on to another school, UNLV. He'll replace Anthony Contrea, who signed with Nebraska. You keeping the domino straight here as one tips over and another tips into another and another. You got this carousel all figured out?
Yeah, college quarterbacks are just like swingers. They keep going from partner to partner. I mean, it's crazy. At least with quarterbacks, well, only one can play, blah, blah, blah. I can understand it a little bit better. But some of these guys, they're established, and yet they still move. And away we go. And then some of them, it's kind of sad in that they're chasing a dream that they thought was on the radar, because most of these kids who are starting in college obviously were really good high school players, and then they get sold a bill of goods and start thinking, yeah, I'm all that. Their parents, I've seen it with the parents many times over, they get all high and mighty about it, and then there's a crash. And more often than not, there's a crash than succeed. and they start chasing things that they're never going to get. And now, especially with the no penalty for the transfer, it's even more pronounced. It was back when you had to sit out. It still was pronounced. As far as the Elite 11, whether I saw a thing from last year or 2 years ago, 22 kids or 30 kids or whatever it was were there, and 60% have transferred, and of that, 80% have transferred twice. And they're trying to chase something that they thought was a strong possibility as a 16-year-old, and then when you get to be a 20-year-old, you find out it's not going to happen.
Ole Miss in Miami tonight, semifinal game. Ole Miss has scored a bunch of points. Now, the defense has seemed a little vulnerable at times, and not just in the two Georgia games. They gave up 35 to Arkansas. So, you like Ole Miss to keep advancing without Lane Kiffin? Because we got this storyline, the coach who wanted to win the national championship may have left a team that could win the national championship.
Yeah, but it's not just Lane Kiffin. It's several coaches going back and forth. And it seemed like each advancement, fewer coaches are on the staff. I would have to think that would
catch up,
cause an issue at some point. I mean, I would love to see it. It's a Cinderella story. I think it's the biggest Cinderella story that we have. Indiana as a historic Cinderella, I get that. But if you look at what they're doing the last couple of years, this isn't a Cinderella anymore. They are a beauty queen all the way in that analogy. And still, Ole Miss isn't supposed to be there. And combined with what has been happening the last 4 weeks, really isn't supposed to be there. So it would be a cool story. So from that perspective of the underdog, to me, they're the biggest underdog. And that game is over there in Glendale down in the Phoenix area. So, yeah, I would like to see that just for a story's sake. It would be fun. And then you said about Lane Kiffin, and Lane Kiffin has been a coaching lightning rod for many, many years, and he's still not that old.
Yeah. Miami, most points they've given up. That defense is really good. The most points they've given up this year is in regulation is 24, and they did that in the loss to Louisville and when they beat Notre Dame. So that's a really good Ole Miss defense. That's a really good Ole Miss offense and a really good Miami defense. So Miami
and
actually,
I like the Ole Miss kid Trinidad. That's a cool first name,
it is.
Trinidad.
And he's a great story. D2 transfer. That's
absolutely
awesome.
He's a great story. Yeah.
Miami favored by 3.5. DJ and PK.
#NHL.
I am thrilled to announce that right here in Rice-Eccles Stadium, the Utah Mammoth will host the Discover 2027 NHL Winter Classic.
Backdoor pass, and they score! Lawson Krause lasers one in, and the Mammoth are off and running. Brandon Tanev around behind the Ottawa net, wraparound, shut down, rebound loose, it's still loose, they're trying to jam it in, Miralainen got back, Utah saying it's in, and it is! The Mammoth kick down the door and make it 3-1!
And the Mammoth beat Ottawa 3-1. Nice win at home to kick off the 7-game homestand. With one of the stars out, with Cooley out, other guys have to step up, and it has been Dylan Guenther night after night after night. But last night, Lawson Krause gets his 10th goal, John Marino is third, and then Daniil Boot there with the second goal of the year. A lot of different guys contributing, PK. They get the win. And that puck was lying in the crease for it seemed like about half an hour. I mean, it wasn't. I think it was like 5 or 6 seconds, but I think it was
that
loose
puck
forever.
lying in the crease.
Yep.
I thought you were a soccer guy.
Yeah,
now you're a
it was-
hockey guy, too?
Maybe it was bouncing around in the crease a little bit. I just think of the Mike Folta coming on and saying, I want to see some greasy goals. That was the greasiest goal of the year, probably.
I never thought I'd hear when we started this 29, 30, 50 years ago, whenever it was, you'd be using the word crease. The puck in the crease.
Yeah. That's what
Did
it
you make
is.
a conscious decision?
Yes, immediately. Didn't even have to go to a game. It's clear cut to me. And the NHL, the Winter Classic, Rice-Eccles Stadium. They're going to face the Colorado Avalanche outdoors. Will they pick the, probably not, it'll probably be earlier, but could they do it like the Rose Bowl, so you time it so, the sun sets right, early third period or something, get a sunset over the mountains? Really sell it, PK.
Did they play it? I guess it is. Most of them are in the day. I'm trying to recall, right? Don't they play it in the day?
Yeah, I think they've all been in the day. Yeah.
Yeah. It would be fun. Something different, sure. I mean, it's a game, it's a hockey game.
Right.
But
it makes it an event.
Talk about.
Yeah, makes it an event. Something different.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Coming up, Dustin Smith, founder QB Elite, Spanish Fork high school football coach, is going to join us. And at 8:30, Don Moore, Utah Mammoth analyst for SEG Media. We'll talk outdoor hockey with him, Rice-Eccles Stadium, and the Winter Classic coming in 2027. DJ and PK, the question of the day is next.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
It's funny about Kyle Whittingham. He does not care about his legacy at all, which is weird. I would have thought that would be more of a priority, but obviously it's not. I mean, the bitterness of sticking it to Utah outweighs his desire to have any sort of legacy, which is, I guess, kind of crazy. I mean...
You think he's trying to stick it to Utah?
Absolutely. Gary Anderson said as much. They shouldn't have pissed Kyle off. Use that word.
Yeah.
I don't know why anybody would think any differently.
I certainly don't think Witt was trying to do Utah favors on the way out the door. But again, to your point, like, what was he supposed to do? This is how he's become Kyle Whittingham, is these people around him. So he's going to go back to the well of the people around him to try and do a good job at Michigan, because I suspect he wants to do a very good job at Michigan. You know, he wasn't going to go out there and start over from scratch. I'm not sure that has so much to do with, well, let me stick it to Utah now.
Catch Jake and Ben weekdays from 10 to noon on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, and it is time for Hot Takes or Toast. Kelly Poppinga has been named the new defensive coordinator at BYU. Is that a good choice? Matthew, he doesn't care about your choices. Just, period. Fetching, period. Win, period. Don't bother Matthew with the details, PK. He's not interested.
Well, the details are where the success is sprung from. Nothing can be left unturned. I mean, I think that you don't win by accident. I don't think that that's even close to possible. I think it's something that has to be set up from literally top to bottom, and everyone who's included in that top to bottom has to be performing at a premium level in order to maintain success, because that's what BYU's had. Obviously, the last couple of years have been extremely successful, and you want to maintain it. You know, it's hard, they say, to get there, and it's harder to keep going. And maybe it's a little bit different in college. You start getting that rep, and the recruiting takes care of itself. I know we see a lot of high schools that have their opportunity to be successful, and a lot of people want to say, oh, they recruit well and all that. And obviously that plays into it, but it's not the form of the coaches necessarily going out and recruiting. It recruits itself because it is humming along. My mentor in life, my deceased brother-in-law, has state power in soccer in the Phoenix area, won 6 state titles, was one of the guys who helped get it, which seems archaic and so out of reality now, that there wasn't a boys varsity sport till like the early to mid 80s, and he's one of the pioneers. The Arizona Republic recognizes him as one of the godfathers of high school soccer, right? Well, once he got it going, he played college soccer back east in New Jersey, and then it really fed off of itself. He literally would have people calling, what are your boundaries? And he wouldn't reach out to them, but they would reach out to him because their son was really good at soccer, right? And so that's what we see in the high schools, and they get the jealousy of the high schools becoming powerhouses. And I understand that. You know, what happened to your old neighborhood kids school? Well, yeah, that's long gone. But it wasn't about the coaches recruiting. The success of the program would recruit itself. So to maintain it, if you can get that rolling, then you've got something. Everything counts. Nothing maybe is bigger than something else as far as the smaller details, but they all count the same.
You have a story, actually, about that recruiting itself, about you teasing a coach about recruiting and landing some, I forget, linebacker, whoever it was, and the coach going, oh, just 2 more parents are going to be mad at me because that kid's not going to play. But they didn't know that. They moved him into the area.
Yeah, that's a fact too, right? Yeah. And I mean, they don't tell them you can't move it in or whatever it might be. And you got that particularly at the high school level. You have it at the college level too. Yep. I'm not sure you have it as much at the pro level, but I've heard plenty of high school or college coaches complained to me about parents. There was one time with Majerus way back when, early in the season, he was just pumping up one individual. It's like after every game, after those UC Riversides and Irvine games, because he would always have a hard time getting big dogs to play. Certainly in a home and home, that was almost impossible for him. And it was the hockey thing, the pass that led to the pass. And I'm a dense dude, but if I see you do something 5 times in a row, I start to wonder. And so I asked somebody, I said, why does he keep praising this player who's a nice player, but it seemed like he was going out of his way to praise this player? And the guy told me, oh, that's because the dad has spent a lot of time in Majerus's office over the summer. And the guy knew, well, I mean, I figured something out, and I'm around the team every day. And so he just flat out told me. So you've got that going on there. And I really think at the college level, once you get it going, you stand obviously a better chance to keep it going. So the details of Kelly Poppinga being the defensive coordinator, the ramifications of that are huge. Because when it comes down to it, right in the moment, he's making the calls and all that stuff. As far as, what's going to happen with him as a defensive coordinator in the game, in the moment, that remains to be seen at BYU, because he hasn't done that yet, right? And so now he'll have that opportunity to do that. Everything else, I think it was an excellent promotion. He's the kind of guy you want on your staff because he understands the game, obviously. Football family, obviously, has all those checks. But the way he deals with people, which is so very, very important, is excellent. I've seen it. I've seen it as a player. I've seen it as an assistant. I've seen it with recruits. I've seen him do it with high school coaches, all those types of things. And he represents what BYU is trying to sell. And it's not anything phony because he bought it himself as a player.
He talks with a lot of energy, enthusiasm, calls you by name, looks you in the eye, firm handshake, answers questions with energy and authority. It's like this is how it's supposed to work. And you're getting used and you don't even mind it. It's like, man, when he's talking to me right now, he's recruiting. I can hear it. He's thinking, I'm going to tell this to DJ and PK here. We were, last time we talked to him, we've been down at practice and that, but we talked to him. We were outside weren't we outside the golf shop last time we talked to him, I think, at that golf event they put on? And we were talking to him there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can't even remember what he was talking about. But when he said it, I thought, I know exactly how that's going to land with the parents of a high school sophomore, junior. He's like, he's not recruiting a specific kid, but, in 2 years, these are going to be the kids that everybody's talking about. And he's already philosophy, explaining everything, laying it out there. Like, yep, he's working it right now.
Yeah, and I think that the pattern that they have is something that's good. And it's funny, like Gary Anderson now is the greatest analyst of all time. I mean, he's getting
multiple.
So much run.
He's getting multiple shouts here in our comments. Mike says, as long as Gary Anderson is there, BYU's defense should be in good shape. As long as the other coaches continue to recruit well. Losing Guilford is still a bummer. I thought, that's actually a pretty good take right there. I think, Mike, you're on target.
But like Gary Anderson is the Wizard of Oz now. Yeah. He is the Kyle used to joke with Dennis Erickson, Yoda. Mm-hmm. When Dennis was at the end of his career there and had a lot of success, including winning national titles, obviously, and been around, and he would say, "Oh, Yoda, man, when he talks, people listen," that type of thing, blah, blah, blah. And now that's where we are with Gary. Whatever Gary says from either behind the curtain or on the mountaintop, boy, this is going to just work. It's funny how Gary here seems like right now he's getting more respect as an analyst than he was at any other position he'd ever had. And BYU is grateful to have him. And I agree with all that. And he is an asset. But everybody's an asset. Whoever they've got, you need them all to be assets because everybody has to be pulling in the same direction. I've seen it when it isn't being pulled in the same direction. And particularly in football, when there's so many guys that it becomes chaotic and then you massively underachieve. And that happened with BYU during a certain time because as many directions as you could have, that's what they had. And part of coaching is getting the individual, the player, he or she, to buy into exactly what you're saying, to where when they take the field, when they take the court, that in their minds, there is no doubt what they've been preparing for the last, in the case of football, which would be a week, obviously, that this is the right thing. We are getting the proper coaching. Once there starts to have some doubt and it grows stronger, then, man, you're fighting yourself and you really have no chance. That was me in my baseball career. I'd step in the box as I got to be later on, and like, I got no chance.
That's not going to help, PK. That is
sure enough, I had no chance, right? I didn't have the self-belief that I needed in the box. The ball was hit to me. I felt like, oh, man, I can handle anything that's hit to me, no problem. From the defensive perspective, I was very good, but, I just lacked the confidence. I didn't have the physical strength either to overpower the ball.
You had a December birthday. You had a December birthday. You're the youngest, smallest guy in the game. That matters, especially at that age.
Yeah. When I was a senior, the juniors we had on the team were older than me. And with that in mind, if you have that belief that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, I think that goes a long way. And I think Kelly has the opportunity to get to that point. Jay Hill was already at that point, obviously.
Yep.
But we all knew Jay wasn't going to stay there forever. He had aspirations and still does to be a head coach. And I believe that going to Michigan will help his aspirations. Not like they were going to hurt them if he stayed at BYU, but the Michigan opportunity is pretty much a golden ticket. And you have to just wish those guys well, because in their minds, and I support it 100%, it's absolutely the right thing to do. And now Poppinga gets his opportunity, and I'm excited for somebody to get an opportunity to show us what he can do.
He's been there multiple times. He's coached a couple of other places. He's coached multiple positions. He's worked under Jay. He's worked under Gary. He's worked under Kalani. It's like the time is right. I thought everything lined up. As soon as you knew Jay was definitely going, I thought it lined up. I wonder what Kalani would have done a year ago. Obviously, one less year working with him. It still might have been him, but with each passing year, it just seemed like it seemed like he had to be a strong candidate. You don't know who else Kalani knows, and but he had to be a strong candidate.
Keep things rolling. Why bring in somebody from the outside unless it was a slam dunk, overwhelming candidate? You had to go in that direction. But the thing that is good is that you're promoting from within because of the success that you've had. If they were middling around 500, 5-7, and what have you, they probably don't do that. But this is a sign that your program is in a great spot.
Yep. DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. An update on the Mammoth on the way. Dom Moore is going to join us at 8:30 to talk Winter Classic. Stay with us. PK, I don't even know if we can guess about this. What do you think the over-under is going to be on how many Ute players end up at Michigan? The coaching staff, that was quite the deal, and everybody was talking about it, and so that's all set. So now we move into the transfer portal, and there's all kinds of guys going in the portal. We think we know where they're going to end up, and we can let it all shake out, but it seems clear.
Well, I think there's less of a chance in today's world than there might have been with the NIL, because I think if you're going to go into there and you're going to make a major move, that you might as well cut the best deal for you possible. If that happens to be Michigan, so be it. But I don't think it's a guaranteed lock of, follow the trail right back to Ann Arbor in these situations, because some of these guys like a Smith and a Johnson, they're older in terms of eligibility, right? And so they're running out of time from that perspective. So why not look at everything that's available? And Daly, for that matter, too. I can't remember what grade he's in, but it seems like he's been around for a little bit. So he's not a freshman or sophomore. Maybe he's a sophomore. I don't know.
He just finished his sophomore year.
Okay. So you got 2 years to go. Or, if you want to go to the pros, maybe you only got one. And the point is, the money is there. And this is football, man. There is no guarantee on anything, really. Very few. Basketball, some of the other sports, if you're a star, you pretty much like DeBonsa, he's going to play in the NBA. That's a fact. So he's got that in his back pocket. And I don't know that anybody could really have that in their back pocket in college. A few obviously do, but with the injury factor and what's your size and all these things that necessarily you can't control, you have to cut your best deal. And the money that might be available there, I don't know what Michigan is offering all these guys compared to what an LSU might be offering. You know what I mean? And so with that in mind, I'm interested to see where they all end up. We saw that Isaac Wilson is going to Colorado. That was sort of a surprise.
That was a surprise.
Right?
Yes.
Isn't that kid, what's his name, Lewis? I haven't heard anything, Yock. Is he not?
No, Juju
Lewis.
No, Juju Lewis is still there, and they redshirted him with the whole idea that he was going to kind of be the guy this year.
Right. And he's a 5-star for whatever that matters. I mean, it's nice to have that, but it doesn't guarantee you anything.
Still a coin flip.
So it was still a surprise, but, he thought that was a great opportunity, I suppose, compared to everything else. So be it. I wish the kid nothing but success. So I don't know that it's a guarantee that these kids flock to Michigan. Obviously, you'd think they would have some inside track there, though.
Yes, relationships matter, and the coaches know them. But it still comes down to the money. And, we've got stories from USC to Alabama. Kids in these rosters have been targeted by multiple schools. We've heard it over and over.
Yeah, right. And what does Michigan have? I'm not that familiar with their roster.
Oh, yeah, I'm not.
In terms of what's already there and who they're bringing in, who else is looking at them. They're looking at the kid, vice versa, as far as that goes. So but at the same time, you saw Iowa State, everybody and their dog basically is following Campbell to Penn State. They decimated that program.
Penn State Cyclones, the Nittany Cyclones.
Yeah. And I feel really bad for an Iowa State program that has worked hard to have success. They're a decent program. They're good. They're not great, obviously, but they're pretty good. And now it seems like, man, they've been undercut sort of in the manner that Oregon State was undercut, different circumstances, but through no fault of their own. After they worked so hard, Oregon State spent all that time raising funds to renovate the stadium and everything, and looked like, okay, maybe you got something, and then everything is just pulled out from under them. And we'll see what Iowa State can do. But right now, they've lost so many guys, man. It's going to be hard for them. Utah, they're still holding tough, man. And for me, as an underdog kind of guy who feels like, he's had the scratch and claw, maybe not now anymore, but I still have that attitude. But for a good while, that was the reality. That was my story. Whatever I wanted, man, I was going to have to earn. I had no insight to anybody giving me anything, no inside connection whatsoever. I'm starting to get that feeling with Utah. Just a few years ago, they're the beast, but they've been knocked down a little bit. Even though they went 11-2 and they were a great team this past season, it seems to me they've been knocked down a little bit. And I find myself pulling for them more to say, hey, we can do this, man. Yeah, we haven't been knocked out by any stretch. We've got a couple of body blows. We haven't even been knocked down, I don't think, but we've still taken a couple of body blows. And I find myself rooting for them so they are competitive again next year, even with all the change. I think that would be a real good story.
Coming up, 8 o'clock hour, the Winter Classic is coming to Utah. Don Moore is going to join us. Stay with us. Next, it is your Utah Jazz. How much success is enough success? We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
Marketing comes up to set the pick. Clayton goes behind his back. Now through his legs. Tries with the right hand. Into the paint. Jump stop. Short. Lowry soars in. Catches. And puts a reverse layup off the glass and in. 3.2 seconds left. The entire arena on their feet. Mitchell, the second-year player out of Santa Barbara, will inbound on the far side. Shea is closest to Mitchell. Williams at the top. Holmgren on the near side. Mitchell has the basketball. Inbound to Shea. 3 seconds left. Drives with the left hand. Pulls from the mid-range. Hits it. We're going to overtime.
Utah Jazz down 20 for a minute there. It looked like, this could be Portland all over again. And then they fought back, and fairly quickly, too. It got down to 20, but they got back in the game pretty quickly. And Oklahoma City hits a shot at the buzzer to get it to OT. Is this the best of both worlds? Compete, battle, and then ultimately lose and protect that draft pick.
Yeah.
I think most fans are on board with that. There are a few that aren't, but a lot of people aren't even commenting on it. They're just hitting the like button. Like, yep. Although, Ben, no. Jazz fans who want their wins. And this seems like the easiest path to build it, PK. Get another good young player. We'll find out, with luck, whether, where you're drafting. But at least get an early pick in the draft, add another good young player to the mix, and then Austin Ainge can go out and add whatever veterans he sees fit in the offseason, and away they go.
I think this is the only realistic way to go about it. I don't see another way realistically. Yeah, let's trade Nurkic for Wembanyama. I mean, come on, all right? That's not going to happen. That doesn't go down that direction. And the good thing about it is, that the league can't throw another high pick at San Antonio this year. Right?
Finally.
Every freaking year they do that. Yeah. Right? They're done. Their rebuild is over, and away they go. Now they're going to be back in the hunt probably for the next X amount of years. That's what we want for this team here. And they're forced. It doesn't remove the painful nature of it and the laborious way and all that. But watching the game against the Thunder, that's what I want to see. I don't want to see them getting rolled over and being non-competitive. And to me, especially in the first half, most especially, an 15 to 20 point deficit. So what? It's the NBA. And that's what was bothersome about the Portland game. The NBA is notorious for runs by each team. And what are you going to do in those situations? And you didn't have a run. And that's bothersome to me because almost every game you expect some kind of run. Certainly a 10-point lead in the first quarter or a 10-point deficit is absolutely nothing. It is so irrelevant to what's going to happen across the course of the 48 minutes. And you're waiting, and you're not getting it. And as a consumer, at least give me something. That's why Hardy screamed at them on the bench when he did, because he understands that, and they weren't giving me anything. Last night, they gave us everything, and when you know it, DJ, I mean, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets all the credit. He hits the shot, and that's all cool. 46. But that play doesn't start without the Santa Barbara Gaucho inbounding the ball correctly.
I didn't want to say anything. I think that speaks for itself, PK.
You can't have that play without the ball being inbounded correctly. He's like the center, right? He's coordinating everything. Center in really football. Is. You got to hike the ball. If you go down in there and Joe Montana to Dwight Clark, if that ball wasn't hiked well, then we don't have that. The catch doesn't exist.
There it is. Way to spell it out. He had 16 and 5, rock solid. I mean, he's not SGA with the 46, but he was contributing all night long. He was hitting shots.
You got to have a great, proper inbounds pass. So in a sense, the Jazz got beat by a Gaucho. They got one Gaucho who's just buoyed, lifted, strengthened, and endorsed the community. He never leaves. No, he's right here. He's not looking to go anywhere. He's ready to sign a long-term deal every time it's offered. Sorry, he ain't no Donovan Mitchell here. I've seen it with my own eyes. He's literally willing to sign a long-term deal each and every time it's offered. In fact, he even says, why go through this? Extend me 3 or 4 years, and then we don't have to do this again. Literal words out of his mouth.
I did say that.
That's what our Santa Barbara guy does.
It ended the meeting.
The Thunder Santa Barbara guy, man, excellent inbound pass, leads to overtime. Without that pass, it doesn't happen.
And so the Jazz dropped to 12 and 24. But they dropped there with a respectable effort, not getting dragged up and down the court by a mediocre Portland team. And it was interesting because I watched the game. I ended up watching all of it. I recorded it. I had to be out of the house for a little bit. And I was in the car.
Get speaking? Yeah, I got it.
And David Locke asked in the crosstalk, he asked Tim Lacombe and Jake, did they show a lot of Coach on Will Hardy on the broadcast? And they're like, no, not particularly. David said he was on fire over defensive mistakes. He was on fire. And it made me back up the tape and go look, because he called a timeout and he was mad. I'm like, but I didn't really dive that deep in. I went back to see what he's mad about. And it's like at 9-8, they give up a pick and roll. And the two guys, I don't know, nobody goes. The guy slips the pick and goes to the hoop for a layup or a dunk, and Markkanen's late on a rotation, and he didn't yell at I think it was C and Sensabaugh who were on the pick and roll. And he didn't yell at them, but he went and yelled at Markkanen about the late rotation, which he's talked about. You know, we want guys to stay in front of guys, but if you're on the weak side, you've got to assume, you know, you may need to help, and you got to be ready to go. And he was late. He was just lighting Markkanen up. He was hollering. And when he turned around and walked away, Keanu stuck his hand out and gave Markkanen 5 in the huddle. Like, yeah, you're taking some heat just because you were the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. It could have been any of us. It just happened to be you.
Yeah.
But that was what you wanted. And they were also there were some other interchanges that I don't think we got to see on TV. But some of the guys who blew assignments didn't get back in the game. And, you know, their minutes. Ace Bailey
I was listening to Locke. And
played
he was
10
talking
minutes.
about that.
Yeah. And I thought, well, that's exactly what PK wanted to see. Like, there's got to be some accountability. Now, when you put the next guy in, if the next guy starts blowing assignments, now as a coach, you're like, okay, somebody's got to do this right. You know, if you're all stinking it up, I still have to have 5 of you out there. But they did.
Right.
There was a good stretch of basketball, down 20. It didn't take them forever to get back in the game. They got back in it pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question about that. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. The moral victory is like it's like the worst cuss word you can have. That you're never supposed to accept that. I understand that. You don't want to acknowledge that a moral victory when you lost. That goes against the code. Mm-hmm. But that's essentially what they had. I don't have a code. I don't play.
We can
I never have played. Yeah. And so I took from that, okay, that's the kind of effort. That's the kind of effort that will lead to success as this thing progresses. You're sitting on the bench and you see guys screw up. Well, the coaches are going to point it out. You ought to be able to correct it yourself when you get that opportunity to get in there. And one of the other things that I wanted to say that has really, really impressed me is we look at George, right? The box score, the body language, and you can see it. You can literally see. But the thing that I like for me is not just see, but hear. And what I mean by that is when he is talking now, he's talking of someone, okay, this is my team. This is the process that we're going to have to go through, but we're going to get to the other side. Trust me on this and believe me, we're going to get there. I'm going to be a part of the solution here. And he talks from a team and an individual introspective way. And he's still a young kid, obviously, but I'm appreciating his level of maturity when he speaks about what they're trying to do. And it seems like he has a full buy-in into the whole situation here, knowing that just give us a couple of years here. And I know fans roll their eyes on that. I've been giving you a couple of years now for 4 or 5 years, and I'm sick of it. I get all that. But you got to look at it realistically. This is the situation that they're in. I don't necessarily think this is the situation that they're mired in, but nevertheless, this is the situation. When I say mired, meaning if you're mired in something, it's going to be really hard, if not impossible, to get out of. It's going to be hard to get out of it for sure, but it's not impossible because we're seeing things. Well, the only thing about what bugged me last night, and I know they have to do it, they don't have any choice, is Nurkic getting 33 minutes because it doesn't seem like when they get to that other side, he's going to be there. But the Kessler situation has dictated it, so I understand it.
Yeah, I would say as far as mired in this, I don't think they're mired at the bottom of the league, and I do think they will get out of it. I think that they can get back to the middle as soon as management decides to acquire a few veteran pieces that fill whatever holes exist at the time and give them a little bit of veteran leadership. I think they can move to the middle pretty quickly. And I think we see teams do that all the time, even when it doesn't look like they can. And I think the current example is the Suns. The Suns are not great. They are much better. They are no longer at the bottom. They are firmly in the middle.
Like 22 and 15.
Yeah, but
and they're still without one of their starters.
But do you feel like they're an elite team? I mean, are you expecting them to win a playoff series?
Well, I think that just last year, in the last couple of years, they didn't have any hope. Now they've got some hope. And in order to get to the middle, which, you're going to put the Suns right there, maybe in the lower end. We'll see what happens Green when he comes back, because he was the central figure in the Durant trade, and he's only been on the floor for a couple games because he's got injured and then got re-injured. The thing that gives me hope, if you do that, that means in order to get from the bottom to the middle, that doesn't happen by accident. You have to make good decisions. And so if you have a track record of making good decisions, then that leads me to think that, okay, you've made the progress to be in the mix, even if you're at the lower end of the mix, and you've made 4 or 5 good decisions. So then I have confidence that you can make 4 or 5 more good decisions to move your way up. That's where I go with DA. DA has a track record of making good decisions. He's literally done it. And it's not happening to the level we want now. But if they can get lucky this year and make another little bit of a jump, then they've got a track record, he does anyway, of making good decisions to continue the ascension. That's where my hope lies. And maybe it is foolish hope. Maybe it's just I want it for them so we can talk about a winning team. And when we get to May, we can talk about playoffs. And if we're fortunate enough and we can get to June, we can talk about playoffs, man. That's what our business, you, me, and Yak, that's what our business is. So we want that to happen. And maybe I'm seeing it through a want rather than a reality. But I feel good about them having an opportunity, if once they get to that middle that you speak of, to continue that ascension, given all the assets that they have, that they can really make some moves then and sort of maybe, I don't know what the right verb is, steal some or acquire, probably is the better word, some of that veteran talent to add to the mix, and then away you go. And so your Suns' analysis, Ishbia took all sorts of heat earlier, but it seemed like, okay, I touched the stove. I found out it was hot. That was dumb of me. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it the right way. And at least for them, they're competitive this year, which is a great sign compared to where they were just a year or two ago.
I think for the Jazz, although I have a ton of confidence in their ability to get to the middle and get to the middle pretty quickly, get to the top, you either need to be really smart or really lucky. And I think most of the time, you need a little bit of both. And so are they going to get that? And that's why, even though it's brutal that we're watching, a fourth hideous season, given how good this draft is, given the fact they don't want to lose the pick, and given who they might get if they draft one, but maybe they get a pretty good player. I mean, Edgecombe is making a great impression in Philadelphia. And then on top of that, you got Knipple, right?
Knipple's been the surprise, man.
He was a
surprise when he was taken fourth.
Yep, he's shooting so well.
He's kicking butt.
Yeah, it's like, well, he's got this elite skill shooting, and it's taken no time to show everyone he has got an elite skill for sure. He is lighting it up. So maybe you get a good player like that, even if you don't get someone to the sizzle of a Debonsa or a Boozer or whoever, if you're drafting top 2 or 3.
Don't even mention it. Don't even bring it into the realm of possibility.
Okay. Still get a good player, and then you're on your way to at
Stupid
least
dumb
the
luck
middle.
has got to shine upon them,
Yes.
man.
Right.
Or maybe they're answering for the luck that they had getting the statues and having those dudes roll out 82 for 20 years.
I think there's a little bit of that, but it feels like that debt, that debt has been paid, PK, because you do have to have the law of numbers, right? You're not always going to hit on the mid-round picks. The sun isn't always going to shine. You're going to have to go through some tough times. The Spurs had a long stretch of missing the playoffs. Now they got picks 1 and 2 and 4, and they seem to have, chosen wisely.
Right, and the number 1 pick was the overwhelmingly obvious.
Yeah, right. It was the right year to have the number 1 pick. It wasn't a number 1 year when everybody's looking around like, who will that be?
Which what it was with Duncan, what it was with Robinson.
Yep.
So they're Urban Meyer. They made a deal with the devil.
Clearly.
I mean, everything turns out well for those guys, and I guess good for them as far as that goes. But I just think there's got to be something that's going to break their way, and I want to see what they do with a top 3 pick. Will they screw it up? No, prior times it has different set of characters, and certainly in the league it has. But I want them in June to be in the position to screw up a top 3 pick.
At least have the option.
I don't think they will, but I want them to be in the position because, interestingly, I mean, the jury clearly is still out on Hendricks and Cody Williams, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the jury has returned a not guilty verdict of Keontae George. And I'm starting to go with Walt Clayton. And for where Filipowski was drafted, I can go there.
Yep.
Sensabaugh, we're still having a couple of people who are debating, and they won't bring their final verdict to the table yet. So the point is, the later picks have been pretty good. The earlier picks, we're still waiting. We know the Hendricks situation. The Cody Williams had a 12-year-old body entering the NBA. And now he's maybe 14 years old. Let's see when he can get that body to 20, which maybe takes another 2 years. We'll see, because then you start getting in the renewal of the contract situation. So it's got to get going at some point here. But the management has done well. You'd have to say Clayton was an excellent pick, and clearly, obviously, George is an excellent pick. No one's going to argue that. So they've had, and Collier, I forgot about Collier, for where they drafted him, he's okay. You're not going to build anything exclusively around him or any of these guys where I say they're okay. But the reality is, if you're doing well on the back end, if you get that high pick and the players are there, you'll get them.
They've picked a lot of players late in the draft in these last, in the Danny Ainge picks here. They've had these last 2 years, guys who I think are going to play 8, play 10, play 12 years. They're going to be in the league. Now, they may play 10 years for 6 or 7 teams or something, move around. Doesn't mean they're going to be here and they're going to be lifers or they're going to be lifers at their next stop either. But you look in a previous rebuild, and Alec Burks, he wasn't a superstar, but what kind of draft pick was he? The rule we always talk about, PK, if you stay in the league more than 10 years, and he did, that's something. And he was in rotations most of the time. There were a couple of years at the end he was not playing that much.
Yeah, except Kawhi Leonard was sitting there like 3 picks later.
Well, that's what stings, is how early do you pick him and who do you pass on. But if you get somebody late in the draft who plays like Burks, it's like, well, it wasn't a complete swing and a miss. The miss was
no, I don't think it was.
The miss was having Kawhi on the board.
Yeah, and some Antetokounmpo was later and all that stuff, but that's their job, man. That's why we as fans love it, because these are what we would consider experts who spend untold amounts of time, and then you still don't know if they're going to get it right, and they still don't know, right? So that's what's so crazy about these drafts and how things work out. What's it going to be? And we have it in football. We have it at the collegiate level, and then we have it at the pro level. So there's no guarantees. And occasionally you're going to get a ding-dong like me who says, oh, you should have taken that player. And it turns out you're right, even though – and then you trump it up. Like I said, they should have started rising over a Brewer. I said that long before. Well, it turns out I was right. Well, it doesn't matter the fact that I probably said 500 other things that were wrong. I'm going to just talk about that one, right? And that's what we do as fans, and that's the fun part. But I do think the organizational structure is there to get this thing. And I know it's just not happening at any form of pace that anybody wants, but I do think, and maybe I'm just as fresh as last night, I feel like I'm seeing progress. It needs a way more, but there's something there. If nothing else, it's George. I can hang my hat on George, who's made a substantial leap, and they drafted him. So that gives me confidence that they could draft some other guys like him. We'll see what happens with Ace Bailey. Obviously, he's got an injury here just coming off, so he's been delayed a little bit, but he's still a young pup. So it's the same theme we've been saying, to the level of patience. And man, patience is a tough thing when you want something really bad. I get it.
DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up next, Don Moore, Utah Mammoth analyst for SEG Media on the Winter Classic. Coming to Utah, outdoor hockey in a college football stadium. That's next. Stay with us. DJ PK and Don Moore joins us, Utah Mammoth analyst for SEG Media. His appearance brought to you by Hercules First Federal Credit Union, growing stronger together. Dom, good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Well, Dom, it wasn't the biggest surprise in the world, and if it wasn't a big surprise to us, I'm thinking it wasn't a big surprise to you. But nonetheless, outdoor hockey, kind of cool. People like events in the middle of a long season. It's going to stand out and be something to look forward to, right? It should be fun, which allegedly is part of what sports is about when it's not about, money and power and all that stuff, fame.
I mean, this was huge news. I mean, obviously the cat was out of the bag just a little bit on social media, but before the announcement. But this is a big moment, big day for Utah, for the Utah Mammoth. And I just feel like there's a lot of our newer fans too that don't really know what the Winter Classic is yet. And, I just can't wait to tell them and show them. And, it's just such a celebration of the sport, the uniqueness of playing hockey outside where, the game started, and, where its roots came from. And as a player, as a fan, it's just a once in a lifetime kind of thing where you get so many people together to celebrate the sport and be a part of a unique and special event.
Yeah, I grew up first part of my life in northern New Jersey, and so obviously a lot of lakes and all that type of stuff. I even grew up in a town that's first name was Lake, and I can remember as a youngster going down there and watching guys play when the lakes would freeze over, and you'd have the trash cans there, and the heat it'd start the fire because it would start to get then, especially the back there, it gets dark so early in the winter that it was always fun just to be able to do that. And we've seen that with baseball. They have played in the Field of Dreams next door to it, and then they've gone to Williamsport and played a game. And you could tell that the players, there's a little extra juice in a long, sometimes monotonous 162 game season here. I'm just wondering, how do you think the players are going to respond to this? Because it's an opportunity to do something different and probably return them to their roots. These are younger guys, but even when they were younger, just as a child.
Well, you nailed it. I mean, listen, I was very fortunate in my career to play in 3 outdoor games. When I was a member of the New York Rangers back in 2014, we played 2 games at Yankee Stadium. So iconic venue, of course. And those are some of the greatest memories of my career. And you nailed a big part of the reason why. Just obviously being in a historic place that you have heard about and a legendary kind of place, but the uniqueness of being outdoors, playing, the ice, it was a cold night at Yankee Stadium, and the ice, is even faster than it normally is it's harder. And so there's more glide. So that made it special. And it just brought me back to those days, like you're describing, on the lake or on the pond. And just totally breaks you out of, especially if you've been fortunate to play a lot of games in the NHL. It's something that is so unique and different out of the schedule. It makes for some of the most special moments, particularly when you win, of course, which we did in both of those games at Yankee Stadium. So incredible stuff.
So how different is it for the players? Because we have heard stories about, when a game has been played in daylight, sometimes the ice is a little soft because the weather doesn't cooperate. The science has probably gotten better over the years. The ice could be a little rougher maybe. How different is it when it comes to the actual competition?
Well, the NHL has gotten this down to a science. I mean, the ice, even in some of the warmer climates, they just did one in Miami, obviously. They've been in Southern California. I mean, they've got this dialed in. I think, some of it, though, depends on the weather, of course. The games I'm describing, was low teens, I think, in the Bronx in New York, and it made for harder ice, which made the glide more. Obviously, if there's snow, that'll add some friction and slow the puck down, like the first ever Winter Classic that took place in Buffalo, and Sidney Crosby's famous penalty shot where he's stick handling the puck through fresh snow. That's what Logan Cooley, when we talked to him yesterday, he's hoping for for snowfall for his Winter Classic experience. Obviously, that would add a little magic to the whole experience, but that's kind of the science behind it. But the league has gotten so good at creating great conditions for the players that I have no doubt they'll be able to do that again. And I feel like Utah is perfect, especially that time of year, to host this kind of a game.
I believe you had a couple of stints with the Rangers, so you weren't there an extremely long time. But are you a brother of mine? When you played for the Rangers, did you live on the Jersey side?
No, I can't say I lived on the Jersey side. I lived in Manhattan. I lived 2 subway stops from Madison Square Garden. That was my preferred mode of transportation to get to and from the rink. Took me 11 minutes on the one train, or I could take the two or three express.
All right. Out of convenience sake, since you were younger, if you were older with a family and all, you probably would have lived in God's country on the Jersey side.
Well, you never know. I was younger, as you said. The Rangers practice facility is north of the city in a town called Tarrytown. So a lot of the players with families lived up there in Connecticut. I guess I'm well aware, though, of how many Ranger fans reside in Jersey. It drives Devils fans crazy, of course.
Yes, it does.
No, obviously, right? As far as the team on the ice, what are your expectations for this homestand? They got it started with a win. We were talking with Mike Folty. He said it reminded him of a spot in the schedule last year where they really need to turn it on. They just weren't quite capable of it. What do you think about this 7-game stretch here?
Yeah, listen, I feel like the last game of the road trip at Madison Square Garden was a big one, and the reason they were able to pull that game out is because they kept their focus and intensity despite trailing for most of the game. They were able to hang in there mentally all the way to the end to get the job done, and I feel like that had the potential to be a turning point because it was the same kind of thing last night. I mean, it was an intense game. It was a very physical game. They took the lead early, but it really took maximum focus all the way to the end to get it done. You need key contributions from all over, right? Obviously, we all know the goaltender is always a huge part of that. You need some key saves, but you need to get the timely penalty kill when you need it. You need to get the timely block shot or defensive back check play or in some cases these details like a face-off or a line change that make all the difference in these close games. And I feel like they're starting to turn the corner with understanding that and being able to sustain their focus for as long as it takes to get the job done. Tomorrow will be a big test, right? The team has not been able to win 3 in a row since that first win streak in October. So if they can do that, that'll bode really well going forward.
In listening to the folks, the players, and obviously Tony talk afterward, one of the things that struck me, Lawson Krause talking about, we were just ready from the get-go. As soon as the puck dropped, we were into it. And then Tony's talking about that too. And it makes me wonder, okay, I get it. And obviously that paid off. But what do you got to do that more consistently? Because if you show me you can do it, well, then you on your own have established the level that's what you need from the very beginning almost all the time. And if you've done it once, go do it a whole bunch of times. What's going on there to make sure that this team has the self-stated effort that they had in this game, that they continue it?
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's always easier said than done with any sport, particularly, in hockey with the intensity, the physical demands that go into it. Obviously, the mental demands, the pressure that go into it, and an unrelenting schedule where you just, they until Christmas they hardly had a day off all year, and we're on the road a lot, and so, you get good as a player. as you go through your career, learning how to, get your focus up, get your intensity up to the maximum level. And it's a sport where it only works when you can ramp your intensity up to the max. Anything less than that, doesn't usually work out. But it's hard on a night in, night out basis to get all the way up to the maximum intensity, and it's easier said than done. And so I think you get better at that as you go through your career, and obviously still a lot of young players on the Mammoth that are learning that. So I think it goes with the territory that you're going to see these peaks and valleys a little bit throughout the course of a long season. But at the same time, they're right in the thick of things, right? It's past the halfway point, and it's very much going to be a battle to the end for these playoff spots.
Don Moore joined us, Utah Mammoth analyst for SEG Media. This year's a little different for the first time in, 12 years now, I guess. There's going to be a break for the Olympic Games. In the past, do players come back who play in the Olympics? Do they come back absolutely flying? I mean, the adrenaline just pushes them through the rest of the season. It's so awesome being in the Olympics. Do they come back dragging, jet lag, changing time zones, having spent a lot of motion playing those games? What should people expect from teams like the Mammoth who could have multiple players representing multiple nations?
Yeah, it depends, right? I think, for some players, it's going to be taxing, right? You're flying across the globe. You're going to be playing a ton of intense games, particularly these players that are playing for top teams like the United States and Canada. They're going to be probably going all the way, going the distance to the, medal round, if all goes well. And so they're going to be coming back tired. I think in the case of Clayton Keller, I think this is such a moment for him, achieving a lifelong goal and dream. I think it's going to have the opposite effect. I think he's going to come back a new man, a changed man, having represented his country on the highest stage. Maybe, who knows, coming back with a gold medal around his neck. I think that'll bring him to new heights. But I think certainly it has the potential for teams like Colorado that have a ton of players that have been there, done that, and, have been on Team Canada before. And I think they'll come back just a little bit worn out. So I think Utah's in a good spot in that respect. Karel Vejmelka is the one that stands out. He's got a big workload as a member of the Mammoth. I think it's unlikely he's going to have a big workload. I don't anticipate him being the starting goalie for his country. So, he'll be dealing with the jet lag and obviously practices and whatnot. But I think he should come back relatively fresh, which would be very important for the Mammoth down the stretch.
You talk about how we're already past the halfway point, and for somebody like me, just as a media member following the team, it just seems like, my gosh, that has just gone by so fast. And if it goes by just as fast in the second half, the season will be over. I'm wondering, as you as a former player, from the player perspective, does it go by as fast as it seems just from a spectator perspective?
Well, it certainly has flown by as a commentator, I'll tell you that. I mean, it seems like yesterday had all this. The longest part of the season, I will say, is training camp. I mean, training camp just felt like it took forever. And then all of a sudden the season started and you blink and we're in January. I think for players, it's similar. I think there are times, though, where it feels fast and there's times where it feels long, particularly when you're on a 10-day road trip through Western Canada, flying at 2 a.m. It can certainly feel long then. But I think all the players, I think it gets easier for players when they can see a light at the end of the tunnel. And that's another thing right now that's going on for the Mammoth is okay, you got through the holidays. Now you've got a bite-sized portion, right? You get to the Olympic break. You just manage your energy through this next few weeks, and then either you're going to the Olympics or you're going to get a break. And then after the Olympic break, that's bite-sized too, because you can see that it's a sprint to the finish. So I think focus-wise, they're in a better spot now than they were, say, in mid-November, where the finish line is far behind you and is still far ahead of you, and the start line is behind you. So we'll see.
So, Dom, what do you do with yourself during the Olympic break? You going somewhere sunny and warm?
That's the plan right now, yeah. So we got a little trip booked for that time. Take advantage of I've got three toddlers, so we're gonna try to get some beach time in with them, which will be good. Get them in the water. Today I'm getting out on the slopes, guys. Day off for the Mammoth. It means day off for me, so gonna hit the slopes and get some skiing in.
Excellent. All right. Well, we won't keep you. Get up on the mountain, Dom. We appreciate the time. Thanks a lot.
Great to join you guys. Talk to you soon.
Dom Moore, Utah Mammoth analyst for SEG Media. Join us right here on The Zone. DJ PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. The John Watson Northern Utah High School Players of the Week. Salate Tonga of Ogden High and Carter Miller of Layton High. Tonga powered the Tigers to a pair of wins at Drew Evans South Summit, scoring 15 points in each game. Miller on a scoring tear as the Lancers won 3 out of 4. He had 19 points and 9 assists in a win over Liberty, Nevada, 25 points in a win over Palisades, California, and 26 points in a loss to PG. Also 14 points and 7 assists in a win over Woods Cross. See why new and used car buyers give John Watson Chevrolet more 5-star reviews than any other Chevy dealer in Utah. John Watson Chevrolet, your 5-star Chevy dealer. PK, the Utah Jazz get beat by Oklahoma City. Have you been staring at the other bad teams in the league thinking, is 25 wins the acceptable number? Is there an over-under you've established for where they need to finish?
I've been monitoring it, yeah.
How bad they need to be, at least record-wise?
Well, as we were talking about, what did we decide? Like 3-4 teams that are just locks that the Jazz they'd have to sit Markkanen. They'd have to send them home to Finland for the Olympics, go watch hockey and do something extreme to get as bad right now as Indiana. And you brought up the Trae Young thing.
Yep.
I'm not a big Trae Young guy, but, maybe he helps them. But because McCollum's a veteran, obviously, and so I wonder if that's sort of a wash. I don't know that they'll be improved. I hope you're right that they are improved. Sacramento, who's going to be the coach in March?
Yeah, I think I've lost hope for the Pacers, Pelicans, and Kings right now. Those three look pretty sad. I've been surprised the Nets have 11 wins. Agor's going off. Maybe it's his rookie year. Maybe the former Cougar will do the Jazz a favor and help them get a few more wins. I'm surprised they're sitting here at 11-23 as I look at the bottom of the
depends on what
league.
the Nets want to do with Porter Jr. Do they want to keep him? Do they want to get something back? I mean, he's their best player, I believe. He didn't play when the Jazz played him. And so what do they do there? So right now, I'm not sure about what their plans are. Let's get past the trade deadline, and then obviously everything will be in a formality for the rest of the way. But I do think the other teams that you just mentioned are not going anywhere, no matter what they do. And I'm rest assured they're going to suck. I'm just not rest assured that the Jazz are going to suck unless they make a concerted effort to suck. You got
their flashes.
The dichotomy of the last 2 games getting blown out by Portland and taken obviously to the wire and extending beyond the wire against OKC. They looked really good, looked really bad. Well, even if you put that in the middle and it averages out, that is, at least from a lottery perspective, that's a halfway decent team. I'm not talking about from a playoff perspective. I'm talking about from a lottery perspective. So I have a case of nerves of the Jazz and Hardy pushing these guys to where they lose the pick. And in the overall big picture, that concerns me.
Well, the good news is after they play Dallas tonight, and they ought to be gassed, right, going back-to-back after an overtime game. They got Charlotte at home, and then they go that's one of those 2-game swings with the team near the bottom playing Charlotte. But then they go back out on the road for 5 more, and it looks pretty tough. So we thought the schedule was toughening up, and they handled December pretty well. But it's a 5-game losing streak now, and the next 7 or so should be pretty tough.
Yeah, we'll see. This is a funny team because sometimes it looks halfway decent.
It did last night.
It looks like they're out to lunch and they don't want to be there, and the coach is screaming at them. I mean, you got 2 guys that can give you 50, and no one's batting an eyelid.
Yeah, if they go off, we're not surprised.
Well, I don't think 25. I'm talking about collectively, not individually. I'm talking about obviously Markin and George. They can give you 50 points. Right, we basically come to expect that. So offensively, they've got a good 1-2 punch right there, and then it seems like they got 1 or 2 other guys that are capable
on a given night.
It's their moment.
Yeah,
and just from the big picture, that makes me nervous. I keep going back. If they lose the pick. Well, the charge is still the same. The charge will never change, is to improve the ball club as much as you can. And you've got Austin Ainge saying, we won't be doing that. That's a quote. I'm not going to say the quote lives in infamy. That's too strong. But we do know it's like his father said, we're going to go big game hunting. And then we've got Austin. I gotta appreciate the Ainges here because they gave us a couple of quotes to hang on and that, we won't be doing that so definitively, almost to the point of defiantly saying that. I wouldn't say he said it defiantly, but almost to the point because it's stuck. That's the only thing I remember from that press conference. Yeah, we won't be doing that. I don't know what else was said, but I remember that one. Well, okay, you kind of have to do that now, but next year you can't keep doing it forever. And with that in mind, so you're going to put your chips in probably over the summer, especially if you get this pick. And it just seems that it's imperative. And then you talk to Locke on and off the microphone, basically, and he wants it badly. And he's saying how important it is to have that. Well, I trust that guy when it comes to basketball evaluations and assessments. And so he understands it and makes me think, okay, what are they going to do? That they're going to do whatever they can strategically and sort of like, okay, well, we're not really watching NBA, but we're going to try to lose this game, but we hope the NBA doesn't see it so we don't take grief. Like, and what was it, last week or somebody did some podcast or something coming down on the Jazz. It's like, oh, shut up, man. I mean, the Spurs were doing it and it was no big deal. And now over here, they're trying to do their best, what they think is the plan. And they got this plan here. And so you want to see it come to pass, especially now with Austin. I mean, I like the guy. I've known him since he's 21 years old, and I want to see him have success. And my number one thing to have success is for the fans, the Jazz fans who have been there for years and years and are so faithful and so loyal and so diehard. I want to see them celebrate. In a sense, I don't even care about the players. They're millionaires, whether they win or lose. I want to see the fans because they're the ones that are there. They're there every long after whomever, fill in the blank. Those Jazz fans are there. And I want to see them have that opportunity. And then secondly, somebody like an Austin who I know I would love to see him be executive of the year. That'd be really, really cool. And with that in mind, to get there, you need to follow this out. So they've got to figure out ways to manipulate the roster to make sure that they don't blow this in a sense. And I know it's contrary to what competition is about, but that's where we're at.
We've got a generation of fans now. And really, we're getting to a point where we've got a generation of listeners where they don't know how much fun it can be. If you were 20 years old, so you had a chance to build the fandom, and then they have that run in the 90s. If you were 20 years old in 95, right? So, high school and college age kids, and you see that whole run, it's 30 years later, you're 50. Somebody who's 30, 35 listening to us, what do they remember about the glory days?
Well, I think they can remember back with Mitchell and Gobert and all, and Quinn Snyder. That was a good team. That was Joe Ingles. That was a fun team to watch. They had the best record in the league one time.
But it wasn't as on fire as it was. It was good.
What do you mean?
But it wasn't the peak. Compared to
the peak was the finals until they get to the finals again. Right. That will always be the peak. But it was still a good run. I had fun watching that team. Yep. I enjoyed watching that team. For all the angst people may have with Mitchell, I put that aside. Whatever. That I don't necessarily really care about that. I care about him as a ball player, and he was entertaining. And the guys that they had, Bogdanovich, get him an open shot with his feet square. I'll take that, man. The game winners he hit. He's been gone now for a number of years, and we can still see the couple of game winners that he hit.
Houston.
And those are moments we live for during the winter.
Yeah, 35-footer in Houston. That was outrageous.
And then didn't he have one against Milwaukee?
He did.
At home?
He did, yeah. Yeah.
And then Joe makes the inbound pass, and Bogdanovich hits the shot opposite the bench, the home bench in the left corner, and then Bogdanovich runs to Joe. And I told Joe, you're supposed to run to him. He made the shot.
Well, if it had been a Gaucho, he would have done it right, PK. That's all I can say.
Well, Bogdanovich was a nothing in terms of college, right? I don't think he participated. No need for Joe, for that matter.
I know.
That didn't happen either. And Joe brought people in.
Oh, big time.
In a manner that we haven't seen from anybody. He just brought people in, and people then embraced him in a manner that he embraced them, and that made it fun. And that's just 5-6 years ago. So unless you're in diapers, I think you remember that, and you want that. You want that again. You're starving for that. We're all starving for it, but the fan who has the emotional, I don't have the emotional, I have the professional buy-in. The ones who have the emotional, they're starving for that, and they want that, and they're hoping, they can get it as soon as possible. It's just, those are realities that will all, and everyone, there's not anyone associated with the fandom of a Jazz fan or the team as a manager, as a player, who doesn't understand that.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Coming up next, BYU has realigned the defensive staff. They've got a new coordinator. Is Kelly Poppinga a good choice? We'll get to that coming up. Stay with us. DJ and PK, question up on our Facebook page, appropriately titled DJ and PK. Kelly Poppinga has been named the new BYU defensive coordinator. Is that a good choice? Now, social media, PK, can get a lot of people firing off. They think they're funny. They try to be mean. They swear. They post weird stuff. We all know about it. We've all seen the crazy side. But then we get this from Larry on social media. Kelly Poppinga, I believe, is a great choice to be the defensive coordinator for BYU. He worked under some great coaches during his career. He's a smart guy, and I don't think his coaching philosophy would be that far off from Jay Hill. He's been around Coach Sataki. He's also got Gary Anderson there he can lean on for help. I think he's more than ready to do this job. Wait a minute. What kind of well-reasoned, rational, thoughtful argument is that?
That's good. I don't know if you can be more than ready. I mean, ready is ready. But I agree 100% that the folks that you've interacted with have left an impression on you that you ought to be able to pick up. And we hear that. All coaches have mentors. And I told my wife this the other day. The coolest thing that Ford Scally did was, when the thing was over on Tuesday, he walks over and he hugs Ron McBride. Doesn't shake his hand. Walks over right to him. An elderly man now. It's hard for him to be ambulatory. His mind is still there. He's present there to show support for Scally. And what does he do? Walks right over and gives him a hug, right? So Ron McBride has had a profound impact on Morgan Scally, as have several other people. He mentioned his father and all that stuff. So now take it in the case of Kelly Poppinga, right? A football family. We know about his brothers. One played at Utah State. His brother, Psycho Brady, as I called him, played at BYU, played in the NFL, knows football. this kid has got the training. Then he has Jay Hill here for 2 years working side by side. And Jay Hill deserves a ton of credit, which is why Kyle instantly wanted to hire him, of course.
Yeah.
So whatever Jay Hill established, which was very good, that will rub off on Kelly Poppinga. That's why it was imperative under this circumstance and situation that Kalani looked internally. And this is the choice that he made. I feel very confident that this can continue to the way it's been, to the level of success that they've had, because Poppinga has been a sponge for a number of years, working under Bronco for many years. Bronco is excellent in defending offenses. He knows what to do on that from that perspective, right? A tried and true guy who also was tutored by Rocky Long. I mean, the list goes on. You're going to end up with Adam and Eve go all the way back. They're the first football. Adam was the OC. Eve was the DC. You can trace it back all the way, man, because somebody influenced somebody who influenced somebody. You get the point, and that's where we're at. The time is now for Kelly Poppinga to take over BYU's defense. Plus, he's got a slew of veteran guys who have been there and are retained. They're already there.
It reminds me a little bit, Kalani doing this, of when Kalani got promoted as defensive coordinator at the U. They could have gone a lot of different directions. But there's a guy on the staff who has put in the time, worked under people, held multiple jobs at multiple schools, right? And it was his time, and he was ready to step into it. And, I mean, Kyle was right there, just as Kelly's there and Kalani's right there, Gary's right there. So it's not like you have to do it on your own. I totally buy into the coaching tree theory you're running around with right there. You go through great coaches, and it's hard to find a great coach who didn't work for and was mentored along the way by great coaches. Just in the college football playoff, we got a semifinal game tonight, another one tomorrow, and talking about the influence of Saban on all four teams, on all of them. And you just go back through history, through the decades, and you keep ending up at Paul Brown and George Halas and these legendary names.
I think you go back to Adam and Eve.
Adam and Eve.
Yeah. I mean, what were they doing? They're sitting around in the Garden of Eden. They're naked all the time. They got to do something, right? So they probably drew up some plays in football.
Drawing up plays in the dirt.
Yeah. Or in, I don't know. Since it was the Garden of Eden, it was probably lush. Did they have dirt?
Oh. Carpeted. The lawn just
carpeted,
went forever.
Just natural grass and foliage and all that stuff. It sounds like a dreamy place, doesn't it?
It does.
But the point being, you can just go back. I'm sounding like Chris Berman all of a sudden. That you can go back, and this guy influences this guy, and on and on and on. And then you're a combination in the coaching aspect of everything, probably in life too, obviously, but in the coaching aspect, you're plucking from so many different things. And so now you got Kelly Poppinga now has been coaching for a number of years, and away you go. Plus, you got Kalani over there, who's not going to have it be astray by any stretch, right? I mean, This is so you got that too. So yeah, I would prefer Jay Hill was going to stay there, but the reality is that Jay Hill was like a mini Urban. The second you hired Urban, you knew he was gone. It's the same thing with Jay Hill. Right? Because you judge and you look at Kalani and the time, they're literally born in the same year, and I think 1975. So with that in mind, you knew that this day was going to come, and you wanted this day from a BYU fan perspective to come sooner than later, because that meant that he was having success. And I could say, yeah, I get what you're saying now. Some people may be screaming at us, yeah, but we thought he'd leave for a head coaching job. I understand that. But Michigan, man, he didn't leave for Arizona or Oregon State or whatever. He left to go to Michigan, and I don't see how you turn that down for what he's looking for. And at the very least, if this thing goes well in 2 or 3 years, by the time he's 55, he has an opportunity to be the head coach in Michigan, because you do the timeline. Kyle's 66 years old, right? The max, I would think he goes 5. I don't know. If Kyle re-ups at Michigan, then I've lost all faith in everything. I'll be an absolutely faithless guy in every aspect of life.
Kyle, you're 50. If I'm doing this when I'm 60, shoot me. Man,
Yes.
I just go back to what I told you a million times. Retirement's a super personal decision, and he has the right to change his mind. And he had changed his mind before. The fact that he changed his mind multiple times, maybe this year, no, maybe this, no. I think this, no. It just can't be surprising.
I know, but I've had personal discussions with him.
I know you have.
About this, long,
And
miles
I
away
think
from microphones.
This will sound like a total oxymoron here, but it feels like he told you the truth, even though that isn't what he did. What he told you in that moment was the truth of what he was feeling. But then when he got to the moment, he's like, no, I want to coach football for another year.
Oh, I get it.
I get it.
I absolutely
that
get
he
it.
was lying to you or all that. Is just, he's got multiple things
I'm
pulling at him.
comfortable now because I'm there with him.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave. I want to keep going. I'm still having the time of my life doing this. I get it. I get it completely. That's why I said if he re-ups, I pushed it down another 5 years. So if he's 71, I want to keep doing this. I'm going to lose all faith in whatever anybody tells me. If anybody says to me, PK, I love you, I'm going to say, no, you don't. You don't. I don't believe you. I don't believe anything anymore. If he's coaching anywhere outside of his grandsons in 2031, I've lost it.
Yeah. Well,
I will not believe anything.
You know what he's right about is he's not going to be coaching against Miami and Las Vegas. So there's that.
Well, yeah, and he told me about Arkansas. But even at that, when he told me about Arkansas, because don't they go to Arkansas in 28?
Yeah.
And I can remember him, and I said, well, what are you going to be doing? I'm going to be golfing in Hawaii. And I said, with who? And he said, you. And I said, sweet. But now that's not going to, maybe it happens in the off season, but the point being it was going to happen in the season. And so it's not, and he's most likely going to be, and good for him. And I've got no problem with that. Good for him. That's what he's made his mind up, and he wants to continue to do it. And everybody's got to start somewhere on the trail, right? And Kelly Poppinga started back when at BYU and then moved along, and now it's his time. I told Scally the other day, I said, man, this is your time. This is something that you've literally worked for many, many years. This is your time. I'm really excited for you. I'm happy for you. Everybody's got to have their moment. I can remember, man, I wanted sports radio as bad as anything that I've ever wanted in my life. And I would stop vacations if I got a call and said somebody was out for a week. Could you come in? Yeah, absolutely. I did everything that I possibly could to put myself in that position. And when I finally got a full-time show in 2002, I was over the moon. And I thought, I am not going to let this thing slip away. And it almost did. And it almost crushed me, but it didn't. And I stayed with it. And I felt like, man, I got to the point where I earned the right to be behind this microphone. And that's where I'm at with Kelly Poppinga. He's earned the right to be the defensive coordinator at Brigham Young University.
He was the choice, man. This formula has been followed multiple times, whether it was Kalani getting promoted, Morgan getting promoted. Jay Hill took a different path stepping into that kind of role. But it seems like these guys are going down very similar paths, and the success the other three had, it makes me think, man, this formula works. It's a little different, but it's not a lot different. And it'll probably
it's not a lot different. And you know what? It's also crazy, DJ, is that Kelly Poppinga doesn't even know this, but Kyle Whittingham is a mentor to him. And you may say, what? What are you talking about? Well, who did Kyle mentor? He mentored Jay Hill. And who mentored Kelly? Jay Hill.
Yeah.
So think about it, right?
Yeah. He was actually, when he was sitting in the rooms, he was working with three guys who'd all been defensive coordinator for Kyle. Because it was Gary when they went to the Sugar Bowl, and then Gary got his opportunity to be the head coach of Utah State. That's when Kalani got promoted.
Yeah. Yeah, right. So
Jay wasn't the DC there. He was a special teams coordinator when he was with Kyle. But he was a defensive position coach on the staff.
Oh, yeah. Clearly he was. And so he'll tell you this. I mean, we're not breaking news here. That's one of his guys, right? We understand that. It's funny. Ron McBride we recognize him as the godfather of the modern success of Utah football. Rightly so. He's got his name up there on the stadium. Everything that came his way is deserved because of the work that he did. He put Urban Meyer in position to go do what he did, right? And Urban took it to another level, obviously. Well, from the defensive perspective, a man who died many years ago, Big Fred Whittingham, his influence is still being felt today because he taught Kyle how defenses need to be. And you may say, oh, that's an exaggeration. Bronco Mendenhall's brother, Matt, played at BYU and then played in the NFL. And Bronco once said that Matt told him that Big Fred Whittingham was the best coach he ever had at any level. So it is not an exaggeration, and it's been passed down. And now the mantle has been passed to Kelly. And the more I think about it, the more I'm excited for him to have this opportunity to show all the knowledge that he has gained from all these different sources. As I say, if you'd say, you'd have to explain to it. If you said off the top of your head, or just in a conversation, Kelly, man, Kyle Whittingham is one of your mentors. He may say, what are you talking about? And then if you told him that, he would say, I would bet he would say, yeah, I understand what you're saying. And then he takes everything and then he molds it into his own style. I think his brother has been one of his mentors, his older brother, right? That's going to be a situation where, and Brady's going to chirp at him. That's just the way he is. He can't help himself. And he's got his philosophies on defense, and he played it at the highest level too himself in the NFL. So he'll have all these influences to be able to do it. And then he's got to go ahead and do it. The same thing with Morgan, man. I'm confident Morgan can do it, but Ford got to do it. Ford has to do it right in the moment. And how's that going to turn out? I hope for their sakes, I hope it turns out great. But until you're in that situation, you're not really sure. And we'll see. But the thing about it is both of these dudes have earned the right to be where they are. And that's really cool. I love it when guys pay the price. When I say guys, I'm general neutral here. They've paid the price to be where they're at. And then they have success. That's a cool story, no matter who it is.
Coming up after the break, another one bites the dust. Reports now of another NFL coach will be fired, and speculation connecting the dots on who's going to get his job. That's next. Stay with us.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Don't touch that button.
Check this out. Eric Weddle, kind enough to join us.
We need to get back to players that want to be a part of our university, that will appreciate what the university can give them. The culture, the buy-in, what Coach Morgan and those guys are going to be emphasizing day in and day out of being great men on and off the field, right? Future leaders, future husbands and fathers. Like, those programs are what I want my son to be a part of. It's not the guys that are money hungry. We're not going to beg people to stay at our university. We're not going to overpay guys because they got other universities that are offering more money. Then if that's the case and you don't appreciate what this school can give you, then good luck, because we're going to be fine. The University of Utah is an amazing school with amazing support, and those who want to be a part of it, let's ride.
It's Hans and Scotty, weekdays from noon to 3, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Slacker Radio headlines brought to you by Trajan Wealth. Call Trajan Wealth today, your local trusted financial fiduciary. Call them at 801-210-6800. Visit their website at TrajanWealth.com. Breaking news in the last hour, PK. The Dolphins firing Mike McDaniel after a 7-10 season. They missed the playoffs back-to-back years. Speculation that it won't be long before John Harbaugh is back to work. They're looking for a GM. And one of the finalists is somebody who's worked with both Harbaugh brothers, is currently an assistant GM with the Chargers with Jim. But you can start to connect dots and say, hey, that could all come together. And we know that there was a team that had a coach that reached out about Harbaugh's availability. The agent said 7 teams had reached out, and there's 7 teams with opening, and the Ravens are one of them. And they fired a coach. So I figured it had to be somebody else. Maybe it was Miami. If you want to connect
maybe
dots.
It was, but the good thing is that they'll get a coach in there who will wear real pants during the games. That whatever he was doing there, that was just unacceptable. Bad message. He might be able to get away with that in soccer, but not football.
Not football.
the other thing is they don't have a quarterback.
And he's getting fired for that.
Do you want to step into that? Now, you have to look at the other situations and, and maybe they can get one. I mean, Sean Payton didn't have one, but he got one when he went to Denver, right? And now look at these guys. They're the number 1 seed, I believe, right, in the AFC.
Yep.
And we'll see what Knicks and those guys can do. Sean Payton, he's going to win at an extremely high level. He's already won at a high level at one place. Now they got the possibility of doing it here, even if it's not this year. They should be back. Doesn't look like they're going to cool off anytime soon. So if I'm John Harbaugh, I take a look at everything because I'm in demand. I'm dealing from a position of strength. I don't necessarily need to go, there's only, what do they got, 30, 32 teams? There's only 32 teams out there. Well, Harbaugh can be picky, even if it means sitting out. Sean Payton did that. He didn't jump right back in. He sat out, picked his spot, away he went. And we'll see what happens there compared to all these other job openings. Because I'm guessing, and this is a 100% guess, that Harbaugh could pick and choose which one he wants. And do you want to go to Miami? It doesn't look like Tua is the answer, and it seems like he wants out. Now, maybe with the coaching change, that may change. But at the same time, to me, Tua is a poor man's Dak Prescott.
I see where you're going with that. Honestly, I don't see why Harbaugh would be interested in that situation until I heard the story about they're hiring a GM, and there's a GM who's got a relationship with both brothers. It's like, okay, now you're inside the circle of trust. Now, when we jumped radio stations a long time ago, okay, there were some people, there were some players who we didn't know. There were some players we knew pretty well, and then Scotty G was going to be the program director. Okay. That land's different, right? And I think the same thing. Miami, the GM's going to be, oh, really? Okay, I could see where if the relationship's that good, then all of a sudden Harbaugh almost seems like a no-brainer. It seems like a no-brainer for them and a no-brainer for him.
I had to pull a lot of strings for Scotty to get that job.
You're the man. Way to go. I hope your phone lights up in about 3 seconds.
And fortunately, they listened that this guy was because hardly anybody believed it, and I had to really do a big sell job.
Excellent.
Yeah, easier sell, but I still had to push a couple of buttons to make that happen.
Oh, yeah.
Because, the word pompous, arrogant, know-it-all, check your ego at the door, those types of things, that was out there. Still is out there, and I've had to go to work here now with Bonneville to refute that, too, and I'm almost completely done with my work.
You had zero pull with check your ego at the door guy. Let's be honest. You had zero pull in
No,
that
not
scenario.
at that time. No, I'm just saying that further down the line, after I established myself
there was a later one.
An absolute narcissistic dope, then I had all sorts of influence. I had more than I wanted. People were calling me up, asking me very menial and trivial things. They wanted my opinion and wanted my advice because of the stature that I had reached and the stature that I now claim and own virtually in perpetuity now.
There was a guy who actually really liked you and gave you life advice and almost kicked me one day right in front of you. Never comment on those blinds again.
Yeah, and I told him to, if at first you don't succeed with the kick again.
Again, and again. We've talked a lot of football, not just NFL this morning, but we have also talked. There was one other quote that we had this morning that makes much more sense now. When Chargers coach Jim Harbaugh says, "My brother won't be out of a job very long," you think he knows? You think he's already talked to the Chargers assistant GM who's in Miami? Like, yeah, you're going to get it, and you're going to hire him. You know how that happens? Like, stuff happens, and behind the scenes, you're like, okay, well, you got to let it happen and let these people announce. But you talk to 3 people, and they're all in the chain of command, and they tell you what's going to happen. You hear stuff. Alema told you once stuff that was going to happen, and you're like,
to hear.
Yeah, Alema told you something was going to happen once, and sure enough, it was like 6 months. He said, "This is what's going to happen in 6 months," and then it played out in 6 months. And I wonder if that's what's going with.
Yeah, Alema knew my future before I did.
Right, and I wonder if Jim Harbaugh's over there like, "Oh, I know all this. It's not my place to say anything," but he'll be back soon.
That can happen. I mean, Barnes, who's now the Tennessee coach, he got fired when men's basketball got fired at Texas, and one of the questions in the press conference was, "Do you think you'll be out of coaching long?" He said, "I'll be back sooner than you think."
And it was the next day. Yeah. The next day, he lands a big-time job in the SEC.
Right, and he already knew that was going to happen, but he couldn't spill the beans completely, but he gave you insight. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see what happens, obviously, with John. What does he want to do? He's an accomplished coach. 18 years, wow, in these times, that's just incredible.
Yeah, lots of double-digit win seasons, 12, 13-win seasons, obviously the Super Bowl championship, so he's been to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, and a kid kicks a field goal, he's in the playoffs today.
Have you seen the meme out there on social media with the goalposts? And in between the goalposts, it says Mike Tomlin gets fired. On either side of the goalpost, it says John Harbaugh gets fired. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, I don't know if they would have done that in Pittsburgh, but obviously they did it in Baltimore, and so be it. We'll see what Baltimore does. They've got that. None of these jobs have been filled, right?
We're waiting.
So soon. We're only 4 days into it.
Yeah. And Miami, it's been forever since they won a playoff game. I mean, it's like 20-plus years now.
Wow.
So, when? I mean, they've been, because McDaniel took them. The Jets are the team that hasn't, it's 15 years now since the Jets win the playoffs. But the Dolphins, it's been 25 years. They won an AFC wildcard game in 2000, and they haven't won since.
And you think when they're walking off the field, wow, it's going to be 25 years before we do this again. Nobody's thinking that.
No.
But yet here we are.
Yeah. Yeah, they really had it going there for a while. I mean, they had an awesome Hall of Fame quarterback. They had an awesome head coach. They had 30 years that they couldn't be stopped. And now they've had 25 years, and they can't get anything done in the playoffs.
Well, I mean, it's really hard. You look at what's the Jazz. What was it, 07, the last time they've been in a conference final?
Yes.
You wouldn't have think that we're approaching 20 years on that.
And yet, here we are.
Yeah. Right, and probably going to reach 20 years. I doubt they're going to get there next year.
And they know it because Jay-Z brought it up in a press conference on his own about a year ago. It's like, hey, he was basically going down the line of thing you were quoting earlier about the charge never changes. We got to get better. We got to get to the playoffs. We got to win when we get there. And then he was just like, hey, we haven't been to the conference final. He knew it. He had it all down pat.
Yeah.
It's like a gray cloud following them. He can't wait to break through on that one.
Yeah, me too.
We talk college football today. Poppinga is the defensive coordinator at BYU. It is his turn to step up. Seems like about as smooth a transition, right? You want to promote from within, and they are. Seems about as smooth as transition as you could expect. They also have Sione Boyle will be the assistant head coach and coaching the defensive tackles, and Demario Brown will move from Boise State to BYU and will be the new defensive passing game coordinator. So
yeah, you said Brown, but it's Warren.
Demario Warren. Yeah, I don't know why I said Brown. It says Warren right in front of me. Yeah.
You're getting guys. That's a good thing about it, man. So you look at their defensive back coach. Guys got a lot of experience, man. They're hiring experienced dudes. People want to be a part of this. Everybody wants to be a part of a winner, obviously, but you want to be a part of a thing that people are content, people are happy and satisfied in what they're not. I mean, satisfied in their job, but you have to constantly, especially in sports, you're never really satisfied. I understand that, and the point being is they're content within the framework of what they have available, and they feel appreciated. And that's going to lead them to work harder. We've had bosses in and out of radio. They want to approach things from the threatened standpoint. That's not anything that really ever motivated me. I'm more motivated. I take that back. It has motivated me, but I'm also motivated by, in a sense, love and affirmation. And that's what we talked about Scotty being a manager. And one of the things, oh my gosh, the way he would support you, the touch that he had that made you feel like I want to do everything possible within my ability to make sure I'm paying back the faith that he has in me. And so whatever he's requiring, I'm going to do it. Just tell me, what do you want? I'm there. Count on me every single time, because you are showing me the type of love that is motivating me to give my best effort. And I think that's what you've got there with Kalani, has that ability to do that. And guys want to be around him and work for him in that program. And that's a good position to be in.
Yeah, I would prefer to work for that. I get also why some people have to shift gears and go with the yelling and the fear. And I think we've seen that with Jazz. I think Will Hardy has worked really hard, to stay upbeat, stay positive. He knew what he was signing up for, and there's going to be a lot of losing and young guys make mistakes and all that. But it gets to a point where it's like, hey, there's got to be some improvement, and he loses it. And then furthermore, when he loses it, he gets better results. So what's he supposed to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fine line there, and that's part of coaching. Yeah. It has really nothing to do with X's and O's. Bronco talks about that a lot as far as, and Pablo's a master at it, man, as good as anybody that I've ever heard listen to talk about it, knowing that I can know all the soccer in the world. Does anybody doubt that Ty Detmer knows football? No, but I mean, it wasn't translating. It's a interesting. Coaching is just a person who has to wear as many hats as possible. And how do you reach players? And I don't believe there's one way that it works. You have to have a touch. Whatever that touch is, it has to be authentic to you. We know Parcells was more of the sarcastic thing. And for whatever reason, that worked. He got the players in there who responded. But at the same time, we see all those clips. He's got to love them up too. And they got to know that, okay, this man has my interest in heart, even though he seems like you-know-what sometimes. So it's a very interesting profession, that's for sure. And so many different ways work. I wouldn't necessarily call the way Majerus did of loving him up.
Yeah.
But yet they sure love the results.
BYU blows out Arizona State 104-76. Utah loses in Colorado. Now those two are going to play on the weekend. The Big 12 is a good league, PK. I don't know that it's as deep as it's been, although the first 4 or 5 teams look really good. But are there a lot of W's built into this for those top 4 or 5 teams?
Well, I mean, give teams a chance. There's some ASU and a couple other teams maybe are at the bottom, but a team like Cincinnati, man, we don't look at them as being a big-time threat, but yet they're balling and they're giving teams games, right? So I think it has a little bit more than the ranked teams, but at the same time, that's all you need. You got 4 or 5 ranked teams, you're good to go. And these teams, all these teams right now that are ranked, I believe will be in the NCAA tournament. And then what do they do in the NCAA tournament? If you have some team who gets in the play-in game and loses, it's like, well, so what? It's what the top teams do. It's an SEC football in that way. And you want to be at that stature, and BYU in just a year and a half under Kevin Young remarkably has reached that stature. It's like, okay, we've got to play these games in January and February, but everything that matters is going to be decided and evaluated in March. And the Utes had that under Majerus too. It's like, what are you going to do in March? That's what we're going to remember. I couldn't tell you one freaking game, and I covered them all, that happened in January and February when Majerus was having that final, that phenomenal run. But yet I remember vivid details about what went on in March all those years ago. Same thing here with BYU and some other teams, obviously, in the conference. And that's a real exciting thing in a position to be in.
Hockey fans, wherever you get your podcasts, listen to Dom Moore. He joined us earlier this morning, Utah Mammoth analyst for SCG Media, came on to talk about the outdoor game that is headed to Rice-Eccles Stadium next year, the Winter Classic, coming to Utah. He talked about that. He talked about the Olympic break and the team handling that and the players handling that, and this homestand, which will continue on. It is opened with a win after they beat Ottawa 3-1 last night. Those are the Slacker Radio headlines. That's what's going on. We're going to take a break. When we come back, your feedback next. Stay with us. DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It's time for your feedback. A lot of people reacting to the news about Kelly Poppinga. Dave, I love it. Kelly's going to be an all-timer. He's been groomed by Jay and Gary for this, and he's an elite recruiter to boot. I'm very excited for this choice.
Good, I like it.
Yeah. Poppinga is undefeated in his head. Love you, at eHonk says. So it's a shocker. He hasn't been promoted before. He's a pretty positive, upbeat guy. I don't know if he would be undefeated in his head, but I get why you say that. He's a positive, upbeat guy.
Nah, he realizes they would probably lose to Texas Tech, who I saw yesterday has the number 1 transfer portal class. It's never going to end with those guys.
Big 12 runner-up champs, great choice. Just watching so many defensive starters return is proof of this choice. Kelly is amazing. He is the perfect fit for BYU. You told us there was some transfer portal news. What is it? And will it update Big 12 runner-up champs' take?
So they have their first portal commitment officially this morning with Kyler Casper. He's a former Oregon Duck, 6'6", 220-pound wide receiver. So I thought he's kind of a like-for-like replacement for Chase Roberts.
We'll see if he's good enough. I mean,
I agree.
Hasn't his stats anyway? I have no idea beyond that. Just who knows? Maybe he's been injured, and maybe this is his opportunity to shine. Nobody was toasting in Tempe when some running back from Sacramento State committed a few years back.
Worked out.
Yeah, slightly.
Good enough.
Barely.
Didn't get in the way.
Not much.
We've got people. We've got Amy weighing in. Go get him, Coach K-Pop. Seems to be very popular. Oh, here's Ben, though. Ben wearing red. Great choice for the rest of the conference.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
I would be intrigued to see if the rest of the conference looks at Utah and BYU the way Utah and BYU look at Texas Tech. Those guys have advantages. They're winning a lot. They have more money than us. I wonder what gets said.
I think you have to be sheltered and put blinders on and worry about your own situation, making sure you're maximizing what you have available, and then go from there as far as that goes. And so all these other teams in this conference so far as constituted, they've all had moments, right? Colorado had a moment a year ago. See if they can get back. They stunk this past season. I get that. But they were pretty good season before. UCF, first time under Scott Frost, was very good. Things have changed. But I think that you have a level. Some have more advantages than others. And money right now apparently is the top advantage. And Campbell is giving it to him with Texas Tech. But I think the others have some stuff that they can promote. And you've got to promote that. And money is a big deal, right? You got to have some of it. There's no question. If you don't have any money, you got no chance. But you even as stacked as the deck is against you, you still have to put in the time and work to get it. TCU got to the final just 3 years ago? 4 years ago? 3 years ago now? So they've all had their moments. And do that. And you want somebody who feels like, okay, I've got these disadvantages, but I'm going to turn them around and make them advantages, and I'm going to get the job done.
We got people weighing in on your Utah Jazz, and they largely loved what they saw last night. Perfect combination. This is what the people want. If the team, Paul says, if the team can compete for all 4 quarters, keep it close enough to have a chance, then I'm pretty happy. They'll eventually start to win some of those games that they're currently losing.
If they can do that, yeah, the premise that you just put out there, absolutely.
Ben, is this the best of both worlds? No. All right, thanks for explaining it to us, Ben.
It is right now.
Yeah. GR says, what's wrong with Kevin Love? What are the Jazz saving him for? Don't want him to go in and hit.
Postseason in 28, 29.
Don't want him to go in and hit like 4 3-pointers and turn the game around. All right, we're about to go. But first, Jacques is living in the transfer portal himself.
So
Raleek?
No, Malik Brown obviously is news out there, but John Gambadoro, obviously working for Arizona Sports down there, just put this out. Breaking news: Arizona State strikes again in the portal, adding Michigan transfer quarterback Mikey Keene, a former Chandler High product who obviously spent time at Fresno State and Michigan.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I think that's they're looking for depth there, and he's going home.
Third school.
I don't think he'll see the field. And Malik Brown, who was first team All Big 12, I believe he's committed to Sark in Texas as a running back.
All right, DJ and PK, we are all done. Jake and Ben are next, right here on The Zone.